Chapter 692, The Su family has a daughter, the Dragon Emperor body. The ethereal voice spoke in such a manner. There is actually such a physique in the world. Su Ruyan, upon hearing these words, also showed a look of surprise and doubt. Although she did not know much about spiritual bodies, she had heard and understood common physiques, including the 5 elements spiritual body. She had never heard of such a mysterious spiritual body before. After all, most cultivators practice abstinence as part of their cultivation regimen. Only a small number of heretic cultivators or those who practice dual cultivation, by harvesting others' essence, would choose to indulge in desires. But such individuals would eventually have their foundations weakened by excessive dual cultivation and harvesting, and at a certain realm, they would find it difficult to make any progress. This palace has only heard of such matters and is speculating as such. However, if this child is as you say, he must surely be a person with great fortune, said the voice. Such characters have many tricks up their sleeves. If you are trying to get a heaven-rank demon beast from him, I'm afraid it will be extremely difficult, the ethereal voice said. Su Ruyan heard this and fell silent, her beautiful eyes deep in thought. The Zheng family's funeral lasted for 3 days. During this period, many matters were handled by the elder ancestor of the Su family. This was also a way for the Su family to show their stance to the outside world. The Zheng family was under the protection of the Yushui Su family. Although this Su family was not the beast-taming Su family, it was still strong enough to make many other forces weigh their decisions carefully. Lu Daoist, my granddaughter will be staying at Wugong Ridge for a while, said Su Renguang to Lu Chongsheng politely. If you manage to inscribe the mystical frost talisman, just send someone to inform us at Wugong Ridge, he said. Lu Chongsheng, hearing this, glanced at Su Ruyan next to him, who had a delicate face, fiery red long hair, and a graceful figure, and nodded with a smile. Because of Zheng Yongwan, he had attended many ceremonies of the Zheng family's funeral over these 3 days. During that time, he keenly noticed that Su Ruyan looked at him from time to time. This kind of looking was different from the scrutiny in the great hall at the beginning. It contained a few indescribable meanings. This made Lu Chongsheng feel that there was something off about Su Ruyan. It wasn't because he was so charming that she looked at him from time to time. Although he didn't know what was going on with her, Lu Chongsheng became extra cautious and wary of Su Ruyan in his heart. As the funeral of the Zheng family came to an end, Lu Chongsheng also took Zheng Yongwan back to Bai Lake Mountain. Just after returning to Bai Lake Mountain, Lu Chongsheng received some news. The dragon carp in Bai Shui Lake had emerged. And it was caught by his daughter, Lu Wangshu. At this, Lu Chongsheng looked at the system interface to see that his daughter Lu Wangshu already had 41% fishing talent, leaving him somewhat at a loss for words. He could only hope that his daughter would also have this much interest in the talisman path in the future. Lu Chongsheng looked at the dragon carp. It was currently the size of a forearm, with its entire body covered in scales emanating a golden luster, appearing quite extraordinary. Seeing this dragon carp, Lu Chongsheng very much wanted to refine it into a blackwater dragon fish Dao soldier. But remembering his promise to his wife and children, that the first dragon carp caught would be cooked at home, he considered that the dragon carp was still too small, enough for perhaps a 3-person family meal at best. So, Lu Chongsheng decided to keep the dragon carp in the fish farm, planning to raise it for a few years. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. Congratulations to the host for the birth of a spiritual root descendant. You have earned 1 lottery opportunity. That day, a system notification sounded, accompanied by a faint tremor. This seems to be the 39th, isn't it? 39, and only the first child with a spiritual root? And this spiritual root fluctuation, it should also just be a lower-grade spiritual root. Upon hearing this system prompt, Lu Chongsheng's brows furrowed slightly. He felt that the chance for his 3rd generation to have a spiritual root was too low. However, thinking of his own children who were giving birth, none of whom had a spiritual root, his heart felt slightly relieved. Under the circumstances where neither parent had a spiritual root, having a spiritual root in the 39th child was already considered a decent probability. Perhaps it was thanks to the spirit rice that his children ate regularly, constantly nourished by spiritual energy. System, draw a prize. Without overthinking it, Lu Changsheng opened the system to begin the draw. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a 4th rank elixir medicine, Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir. The reward has been issued to system space. The host can check it at any time. An elixir icon emerged from the big wheel, accompanied by a system notification tone. Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir? When Lu Changsheng saw the prize he drew, his eyebrows raised. This was an elixir he had never heard of before. With a slight stirring of his mental spirit, he looked toward the system space for the effects of this elixir. Elixir, Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir, quality, 4th rank, description. As long as a cultivator's soul has not dissipated, upon taking this elixir, one can regenerate flesh from bones and fuse the soul back to life, 4th rank elixir. When Lu Changsheng saw the grade and effect of this elixir, he couldn't help but inhale sharply. Most of the rewards he had obtained so far were of the 3rd rank. It was only the life-substituting talisman he drew earlier, with good luck, that he had obtained a 4th rank reward. He didn't expect to draw another 4th rank elixir today. And certainly, the effects of this elixir were extraordinary. After a cultivator dies, the soul can still exist for a period of time. Thus, high-rank cultivators, when killing, aim to destroy both the body and soul to ensure there are no future troubles. Especially in the demon path, after killing someone, they capture the victim's soul for cultivating techniques or for refining magic artifacts. And with this elixir, even if a person is dead, as long as their soul hasn't been completely annihilated, taking the elixir would allow them to regenerate from their bones and come back to life. This effect is simply terrifying. It can be said to be a truly life-saving miracle medicine. However, being ranked as a 4th rank elixir makes it seem somewhat redundant. In battles between nascent soul immortals, one has to strike down the opponent until both body and soul are dispersed, and a nascent soul true lord wouldn't possibly allow someone. I've heard that a nascent soul true lord not only has a lifespan of over 1,000 years but also possesses all sorts of inconceivable methods. One such method is known as body seizure reincarnation. The books say that all the mana and divine skills of a nascent soul true lord are contained within the nascent soul itself, and even if their body is completely destroyed and their soul shattered, as long as the nascent soul survives, they can seize another body and be reborn. And nascent soul true lords have mastery over the power of the void, their nascent souls capable of escaping into it, with no restrictions or techniques able to hold them back, possessing an extremely strong ability to preserve their own lives. Lu Changsheng muttered to himself. Knowledge about the nascent soul mainly came from his usual reading. On the other hand, it was through the cultivation techniques he obtained from the system draws, knowing a thing or two from their descriptions. Nevertheless, as precious and powerful as it is, it's somewhat redundant for me at the moment. Lu Changsheng looked at the Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir, sighed deeply, and simply placed the elixir in the system space to collect dust, planning to take it out only when there was a need for it. Chapter 693, The Demonic 7 Sects, Sending a Clock to the 4 Great Families. _1 This day, Lu Changsheng learned of the news about Azure Phoenix Immortal City through Wuxia. They too faced a surge of demon beasts, and even 3 heaven-rank demon kings attacked Azure Phoenix Immortal City. This battle nearly resulted in the city being breached. However, the most reclusive loose cultivator of Jianghu country, the Azure Phoenix Immortal, re-emerged into public view after many years of silence. With a 3rd-rank Qing Yuan, 500 Qing Yuan Dao soldiers in tow, she ferociously battled the 3 great heaven-rank demon animals. After months of intense fighting, the Azure Phoenix Immortal finally killed the Ironback Kuei Bear and severely wounded the Diamond Ape King, bringing an end to the Beast Tide. The message indicates that if the Beast Tide hadn't been so severe, nearly breaching Azure Phoenix Immortal City, with the strength of the Azure Phoenix Immortal and riding the wave of victory with 500 Qing Yuan Dao soldiers, there was even a hope to kill the Diamond Ape King, Xianxia spoke out, saying thus. Even she was astonished upon receiving this news. For the bloodline grade of demon beasts determines the upper limit of their strength. Like a third-rank demon king with a heavenly grade bloodline, whose strength corresponds to a nascent soul cultivator with a superior gold core. Each one possesses frightening combat power. Yet the Azure Phoenix Immortal fought 3 alone, managing to slay one and severely wound another. It was nothing short of astounding. 3 heaven-rank demon kings almost breached Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongsheng drew a deep breath, understanding how fierce and perilous the battle was. He looked at Xianxia and continued to ask, Shiyu, the strength of this Azure Phoenix Immortal must not be far from making a breakthrough to nascent soul, right? I'm not sure about that. There are rumors that the Azure Phoenix Immortal has been in closed-door cultivation these years, preparing for the assault on nascent soul. There are also rumors that years ago, the Azure Phoenix Immortal delved deep into the Myriad Beasts mountain range and suffered severe injuries, spending these years to recuperate. However, judging from the strength she displayed now, it's estimated she's not far from a breakthrough to nascent soul, Xianxia said in a low voice. If this Azure Phoenix Immortal breaks through to nascent soul, I fear the entire situation in Jianghu country will undergo change, Lu Chongsheng said with some emotion. In the Jianghu country cultivation realm now, only the Heavenly Sword sect had a nascent soul true lord to preside over it. If the Azure Phoenix Immortal, a loose cultivator, achieves nascent soul, it's feared that not just the whole of Jianghu country, but even the neighboring cultivation realms would be shaken. After all, each nascent soul true lord can influence the landscape of a country, of a cultivation realm. This made Lu Chongsheng think of the Xianjian true monarch of the Heavenly Sword sect, also a fierce figure. In the beginning, facing the invitation to battle from the 3 great demon sects of Jin Kingdom, he fought alone against 2 nascent soul true monarchs. The result being he almost slew the 5 Poisons cult leader, possessing truly astonishing combat power. This Azure Phoenix Immortal seeking a breakthrough to nascent soul must be immensely difficult. Azure Phoenix Immortal City only has a 3rd-rank spirit vein, which is simply inadequate for assaulting nascent soul. Even if she temporarily elevates the spiritual energy to 4th rank through methods, it is still quite forced. Moreover, with Azure Phoenix Immortal City close to the Myriad Beasts mountain range, once she attempts to attack nascent soul, there will definitely be demon kings attacking, and the 4 great immortal sects, Heavenly Sword sect, Qingyun sect, Spirit Taming sect, and Wuxia sect, wouldn't want to see the Azure Phoenix Immortal achieve nascent soul, unless she is willing to join one of the 4 great immortal sects. Ling Zixiao held her teacup, her demeanor dignified and elegant, her voice clear as she spoke. Indeed, Lu Chongsheng nodded, understanding the principle. It's already quite remarkable for the Azure Phoenix Immortal to rise powerfully as a loose cultivator and establish Azure Phoenix Immortal City. As a loose cultivator, no power wanted to see her break through to nascent soul. Because resources in the cultivation world are limited. With each new person, a share of the bounty must be divided up. Yet this beast tide should have a major issue. As far as I recall, there hasn't been such an exaggerated beast tide for nearly a century. Ling Zixiao frowned slightly, saying so. Indeed, there is a problem. The main target of this beast tide was the Spirit Taming sect, not Azure Phoenix Immortal City. The news I received indicates that the Spirit Taming sect suffered heavy losses in this battle. Not only were several lines of defense breached, innumerable disciples died or were injured, but also 2 nascent soul immortals and 1 sect guardian spiritual beast were killed, a massive blow to their strength. Were it not for the support from the Qingyun sect, Wuxia sect, and Heavenly Sword sect, the defenses might have been breached. I even suspect that a 4th-rank Great Demon King has emerged within the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Only such a force could stir up such a beast tide, Xianxia said out loud. 2 nascent soul immortals have died? I had heard that the Spirit Taming sect only had 6 nascent soul immortals to begin with. Now 2 have died? Upon hearing this, Lu Chongsheng couldn't help but click his tongue. In the Jianghu country cultivation realm, nascent soul immortals are top figures wherever they are. Like families and powers presided over by a nascent soul immortal, they are known as cultivation noble houses. But now the spirit-taming sect has lost 2 nascent soul immortals and a 3rd-rank spiritual beast in just one battle, which is absolutely dreadful. Yes, now the spirit-taming sect only has 4 nascent soul immortals left. However, the spirit-taming sect also has 2 3rd-rank sect guardian spiritual beasts. The sect's foundation is deep, Xianxia said thus. The cultivation world in these years is truly in an era of frequent turmoil. The invasion incident of the Jin Kingdom demon path hasn't passed long, and now such a horrific beast tide has risen. Lu Chongsheng took a deep breath and sighed. In earlier years, he thought the cultivation world was relatively stable. It seems now that the cultivation world has never been at peace, always churning with undercurrents. It's just that his strength was too low before, and his channels of information were limited. He was unaware of many things. Just like the news from the direction of Azure Phoenix Immortal City, had he not asked Xianxia to pay more attention, he would still be unaware now. My lord, turbulence is the norm in the cultivation world. In our Jianghu country's west, called the Western region, it belongs to a chaotic area with 100 nations existing together, humans and demons cohabiting, with wars and chaos every year, nations being destroyed. Chapter 694, The Demonic 7 Sects, Sending a Clock to the 4 Great Families. Our Jianghu country, 50 years ago, also waged war with Yu country and invaded Yan country. Ling Zixiao spoke, saying so. That's right, in the cultivation world, wars tend to break out every few decades, but the geographical location of our Jianghu country is quite advantageous. To the west, we have the western regions, to the north, the natural barrier of the Great Dream Marsh, to the south, Yu country is a righteous nation friendly to us and also guarded by the natural barrier of the Myriad Beasts mountain range. The only threats to be wary of are the demon path of Jin Kingdom and the tide of demon beasts from the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Xianxia said, speaking out loud. So, as long as there is no major war, our Jianghu country is relatively safe. Lu Chongsheng heard this and chuckled lightly. Indeed, as long as there isn't a war on the scale of the past conflict with the demonic 7 sects, the impact on Jianghu country shouldn't be too great. Of course, if Jin Kingdom were to produce another nascent soul true lord, the situation might change. Ling Zixiao said with a light smile. Demonic 7 sects. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongsheng showed a hint of surprise on his face. He had read many books and knew a bit about the southern wilderness cultivation realm, but he had never heard of these demonic 7 sects. Yes, the demonic 7 sects. I once read in a notebook that 800 years ago, 7 powers from the southern wilderness cultivation realm formed an alliance, waged war, and invaded other countries. That war was incredibly brutal, nearly affecting half of the southern wilderness cultivation realm, with countless countries and powers falling. Not only did nascent soul immortals fall, but even nascent soul true lords perished. Ling Zixiao picked up her tea, took a light sip, and said with a hint of emotion. I seem to have read about this war in the histories of the southern wilderness, which mentioned it was a great battle between righteousness and the demonic path, with the demonic path eventually being repelled by the united righteous powers. Lu Chongsheng said, frowning slightly. Yes, that's the war. I saw in the notebook that in just a few years, the demonic 7 sects conquered several countries, sweeping through and nearly claiming a quarter of the southern wilderness cultivation realm, forcing many countries and immortal sects of the righteous path to form an alliance and unite to rebuff the demonic 7 sects. The war was exceptionally brutal, ending only when the demon witch sect's nascent soul elder perished, prompting the remaining 6 sects to retreat. Ling Zixiao recounted slowly. The demon witch sect, an elder in the later stages of the nascent soul perished. Lu Chongsheng realized the extent of the war's ferocity only after hearing these words. The history book he read about the southern wilderness mentioned the war only briefly. He hadn't realized it ended with the fall of a late-stage nascent soul great cultivator. Zixiao, besides the demon witch sect, what were the other 6 sects called? Lu Chongsheng asked curiously. They seem to be named the demonic sect, Holy Lotus cult, Blood Sea sect, Myriad Beasts Demon sect, Netherworld Ghost sect, and Azure Sky Demon sect, Ling Zixiao said after a moment of contemplation. Due to her dragon roar physique, she often read a wide variety of books, but even so, she couldn't remember these details very clearly. In the 800 years since then, these demonic 7 sects must still exist, right? Lu Chongsheng continued to inquire. I'm not too sure either, I only came across this part of history in the notebook. Sects like the Heavenly Sword sect and the Qingyun sect have legacies spanning thousands of years. Even though the demonic 7 sect suffered heavy losses back then, except for the Demon Witch sect, the remaining 6 sects all had nascent soul stage elders, so it's hard to imagine their legacies coming to an end, Ling Zixiao elaborated. Let's hope a war of that scale doesn't happen in the future, Lu Chongsheng sighed. He felt that if such a major war were to break out, he would need to be at least at the nascent soul stage to protect his family. Otherwise, even a nascent soul immortal might perish in such a conflict. At that moment, Lu Chongsheng recognized that his power, when compared to the entire Qingyun region, was quite commendable. But when considering the entire Jianghu country cultivation realm, or even the whole southern wilderness cultivation realm, it was not sufficient. Nascent soul, despite his confidence in his future, he couldn't predict when he might achieve a nascent soul breakthrough. After all, the entire Jianghu country cultivation realm currently only had one nascent soul true lord, which spoke to the difficulty of reaching that stage. He didn't ponder long and continued chatting with Ling Zixiao and Xiao Siye about matters of the cultivation world. Even though he read quite a lot of books regularly, compared to Ling Zixiao, he felt rather inferior. So talking with Ling Zixiao was also an opportunity to gain much knowledge. Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Despite the heavy casualties in the onslaught of the Beast Tide, Azure Phoenix Immortal City managed to recover its usual bustle and hustle within a few months. After all, to loose cultivators, death was a norm. As long as Azure Phoenix Immortal City and the Azure Phoenix Immortal existed, offering 2nd and 3rd rank cave dwellings, foundation establishment elixirs, and other rare elixir medicines and treasures, there would always be a steady stream of cultivators arriving at Azure Phoenix Immortal City, forming the foundation of the city. Moreover, not everyone shares the same joy and sorrow. Those cultivators who survived the Beast Tide gained substantially, with faces alight with joy. In a humble courtyard of the outer city, this 3 Suns elixir truly deserves to be a 2nd-rank rare spirit pill. It not only allowed me to break through to the 9th level of energy refinement but has also healed all the hidden injuries and issues I accumulated over the years. In the practice room, Li Feiyu opened his eyes, and his handsome face revealed a trace of happiness. He had been seriously injured in the battle of the Beast Tide but managed to survive with his body refinement. Now that the Beast Tide had subsided, Azure Phoenix Immortal City fulfilled its promise of rewarding based on merit, settling the dues for everyone involved. With these merits, he exchanged for a 3 Suns elixir. Chapter 695, The Demonic 7 Sects, Sending a Clock to the 4 Great Families. Not only had his cultivation level advanced further, but he had also resolved the hidden dangers from his injuries and the consumption of a 2nd-rank monster core during previous battles. Although this merit is not small, it's still far from enough to achieve foundation establishment. As Li Feiyu thought about the path ahead, a sense of gravity appeared on his face. Through his endeavors in Azure Phoenix Immortal City, he had gained some understanding of foundation establishment. He came to a profound realization of the difficulty he would face in attempting to break through to foundation establishment. He possessed only a 7th-grade spiritual root. With a lower-grade spiritual root, when breaking through the 3 barriers of foundation establishment and transforming spiritual power into mana, the conversion efficiency is too slow, proving to be a burden. Therefore, for those with a lower-grade spiritual root to break through to foundation establishment, they must have a foundation establishment elixir and foundation establishment spiritual objects linked to the magic barrier with only a 10 to 20% chance of success. And with his current merits, he could at most exchange for 1 foundation establishment spiritual object. Chongsheng has already achieved foundation establishment, how can I allow myself to fall behind? I still have more than 10 years, what difficulty would there be in striving to procure a foundation establishment elixir in this time? Under Li Feiyu's dark brows, his eyes were deep and bright, exuding an unstoppable determination. The vast clear sky was as pure as a washed sapphire, the azure heaven untouched by a single cloud. Among the cloud borders, a spirit boat shuttled along with 6 cultivators aboard, men and women alike. Leading them was a man with a rebellious face and a physique as imposing as a mountain, who radiated a fierce and bandit-like aura in his red robe. He looked at a youth aboard the spirit boat, around 27 or 28 years old, with a hint of violence between his brows, and said, "Little brother, in half a month, we will arrive at the Red Leaf Valley market you spoke of. Have you thought about how to resolve it?" The brawny man said with a sonorous voice and a wild look on his face. "Big brother, my parents died in that Red Leaf Valley market, so I want the entire market and the 4 major families backing it to accompany my parents in death as a sacrifice to their spirits." Upon hearing this, Fang Ye's brows were filled with violence, and hatred flickered in his eyes. 10 years ago, his parents, in order to prepare foundation establishment resources for him, chose to loot the marketplace. As a result, both of them perished at Red Leaf Valley Market. While he was fleeing alone, the blood feud of his parents constantly spurred him on. Through countless brushes with death, he finally made some gains, chancing upon an opportunity in an ancient cave dwelling, breaking through to foundation establishment. Later, he even gathered several sworn brothers and a Dao companion in the Imperial Spirit Sect's domain due to a beast tide. Especially after the eldest brother and his Dao companion learned of his thirst for revenge, inquired about the cause, and expressed a willingness to help him avenge his parents, he was deeply moved. "Good, worthy of little brother indeed, truly domineering, let's do it the way you suggested." A rough and unrestrained voice echoed. "This Red Leaf Valley Market, as little brother said, is just made up of a few foundation establishment families. With all of us brothers going there, aren't they easy to manipulate?" Another voice, leaning towards the cold, rang out. "With our older brothers present, surely they will be easy to manipulate, but these families all have great formations protecting them. If we make consecutive moves, we might even attract people from Qingyun's sect. Brother Yu, do you have any tokens to send to these 4 families to let them know you've returned, to keep them constantly anxious? Once they gather, or if we manage to lure them together, we'll find an opportunity to eradicate them all in one fell swoop." The peach-dressed woman by Fang Ye's side spoke out. "Little sister, this proposal isn't bad at all. In that case, when the time comes, we'll send a clock to these 4 families and tell them little brother is back, to let them know they will repay their debts in blood, to get cleaned up and wait for death, kekekek." As someone heard the suggestion, they immediately laughed boisterously. "All right, then, when the time comes, we'll send a clock to these 4 families as a harbinger of their end." Fang Yu, hearing this, displayed a cruel smile. Then, looking at the sky with eyes full of malevolence, he muttered, "Dad, Mom, your son will use Red Leaf Valley Market, the 4 major families, to sacrifice to your spirits in heaven. By Lake Mountain. Changsheng Hall, inside the cave dwelling." Clang, 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 dash, Lu Changsheng heard the noise and gazed at the golden cocoon. As the clear and resonant sounds of clinking and clashing rose incessantly, the golden cocoon began to crack. Boom! The golden cocoon exploded with a bang, and infinite radiance surged forth. A 6-winged golden silkworm, its body shimmering with golden light, appeared. After its promotion to the 2nd rank, there had been no significant change. Its body had grown from the original 2 inches to 4 or 5 inches, glistening throughout, and its wings, thin as cicadas, sported strands of golden patterns. The whole gave off the impression of an invincible and indestructible aura. After advancing to the 2nd rank, what changes are there? Lu Changsheng looked at the 6-winged golden silkworm in front of him and asked aloud. Though the 6-winged golden silkworm was known for its ferocity and brutality, with hardly any spiritual intelligence to speak of, through systematic training, Lu Changsheng could still communicate simply with it. But as soon as the six-winged golden silkworm heard Lu Changsheng's words, it spat out a beam of golden light, sharp as an arrow. Boom! The beam struck the wall of the cave abode, leaving behind a black, scorching gap. As expected of an ancient rare insect species, just having ascended to the second rank, it boasts such an attack power. This cave abode was constructed mainly from void Xian stones and inscribed with spiritual pattern formations. While not as hard as spiritual artifacts, it's comparable to a magic artifact. Moreover, within this golden light, besides its sharpness, there's also a true fire essence that can scorch and corrode one's body and soul. Lu Changsheng examined the spot where the six-winged golden silkworm attacked, his face showing delight. He clearly recognized the terror of the six-winged golden silkworm's offensive capabilities. An average foundation establishment cultivator facing such attacks would likely disintegrate body and soul if careless. As if understanding Lu Changsheng's encouragement, the six-winged golden silkworm shook its body, and the gold light around it exploded exponentially, taking on the appearance of a massive golden cup. Clang, 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 Lu Changsheng tapped on the six-winged golden silkworm's body with his finger. He then pulled out a superior magic artifact and chopped at the six-winged golden silkworm. But the magical sword collided with the golden silkworm, resulting only in a noise reminiscent of clashing metal. Slash! Lu Changsheng circulated his mana and spurred the magical sword to continue slashing at the six-winged golden silkworm. Yet, like a golden cup, the golden silkworm remained completely unyielding. Even after being chopped twice, the golden silkworm became slightly restless, its body emanating a ferocious and savage bloodthirsty aura. This was Lu Changsheng, its master, and it was able to control itself. If it were anyone else, it would have attacked by now. Such a physique is not weaker than a lower-grade spiritual artifact, even stronger than average spiritual artifacts by a margin. Lu Changsheng put away the magical sword and took out a gourd filled with spiritual blood to feed the six-winged golden silkworm. After a simple test, he had gained a clear understanding of the six-winged golden silkworm's strength. For the likes of the Yu family, Lu Yuanzhong, Bai Yunyang, and those at the foundation establishment level, facing the six-winged golden silkworm meant almost certain death. Because their cultivation level and strength were unlikely to break through the six-winged golden silkworm's defenses. And facing its attack, they would have difficulty defending. However, if they fled immediately upon encounter, there was still a good chance they could escape. After the six-winged golden silkworm had eaten its fill, Lu Changsheng put it back into the spiritual pet bag and walked out of Changsheng Hall. Husband, just at that moment, Lu Miaoyun rushed over hurriedly to inform Lu Changsheng of a piece of news. Chapter 696, I contracted a rank 3 spiritual beast before. _1 The remnants of the robber cultivator from the Red Leaf Valley Market? Sending a bell? Blood for blood, may you journey well in the Yellow Springs. As Lu Changsheng heard Lu Miaoyun's words and looked at the copper bell in his hand, with residual foundation establishment late-stage mana, his brow furrowed slightly. He thought to himself, do robber cultivators nowadays play like this? Facing such a situation, should I shout, aside from nascent soul immortals, who dares to act against our 4 major families? Who dares to curse me with a bell? Investigate this for me. Yuner, did you see who brought this bell here? Lu Changsheng asked aloud. Xiao Yu was guarding the mountain gate when the bell directly smashed in front of it, and no trace of a person was seen. So this is most likely the doing of a foundation establishment cultivator. Lu Miaoyun replied with pursed lips. Lu Changsheng nodded thoughtfully after hearing this. A foundation establishment cultivator coming to do this and deliberately leaving behind a trail of foundation establishment late-stage magic aura was obviously not a mere prank. Although such an event wasn't taken seriously by Lu Changsheng, even to the point of thinking the other party had issues in the head, this matter was not aimed at by Lake Mountain. Rather, it was targeted at the Red Leaf Valley Market and the 4 major families. Therefore, Lu Changsheng still had some worries for Qingzhou Mountain and Lumiaoga. After all, if the other party indeed had a foundation establishment late-stage cultivator, they posed a certain threat to Jianghu Mountain and Red Leaf Valley Market. Especially the Red Leaf Valley Market. The market was always open to the public. If a foundation establishment robber cultivator infiltrated, it would be quite troublesome. Yuner, send messages to Jianghu Mountain, 100 Birds Lake, and the Zheng family to see what they think, Lu Chongsheng suggested after a moment's thought. If our family received this bell, the other 3 families surely did as well. Yes, my lord, Lu Miaoyan responded, nodding her head and going to send a communication talisman. Afterward, Lu Chongsheng, holding the copper bell, went to consult Ling Zixiao and Xiao Xia for their opinions. This person dares to act this way, either because they're pretending to be mysterious or they truly possess extraordinary strength, completely disregarding our families, Ling Zixiao said calmly and elegantly after examining the bell. She was aware of Lu Changsheng's strength and was not particularly concerned about the matter. Moreover, her health had improved a lot over the past few years of treatment. Combined with the newly repaired family's great formation, unless it was a nascent soul immortal attacking the formation, there was nothing to fear. Chongsheng, if you need it, I can report this matter to the sect and request that they send someone to investigate, Xiao Xia said softly. Although matters like this were generally not managed by Qingyun's sect unless they escalated, if she went to report it, they could still send someone to investigate. These people dare to act in such a way, obviously, they're not afraid of Qingyun's sect coming to investigate. Moreover, Qingyun's sect would probably only send 1 or 2 foundation establishment cultivators to oversee and investigate, right? Lu Chongsheng said aloud. Through the previous incident with Xiahou money, he knew the sect would get involved in such matters, but they usually only handled it after the fact. After all, causing a big incident within one's own territory was equivalent to slapping Qingyun's sect in the face. But if there's just a threatening bell and nothing has actually happened, expecting Qingyun's sect to send someone to resolve it would likely be extremely difficult. Given the vastness of the cultivation world, and enemies not yet revealing themselves, finding someone is very difficult. Qingyun's sect likely wouldn't bother. For matters like this, the sect usually only sends foundation establishment cultivators to investigate or to be stationed, Xiao Xia said, lips slightly parted. These robber cultivators might be bold and arrogant, but not a single one is foolish. They dare to act this way because they're not afraid of the Qingyun sect's investigation. Now that the enemy is hidden and we are exposed, we can only wait for them to show themselves. Ling Zixiao spoke out loud. I'm not so worried about this matter, I'm mainly concerned about Jianghu Mountain, 100 Birds Lake, and Sister Mayaya's situation, Lu Chongsheng said. This is indeed troublesome, Ling Zixiao nodded slightly, propped up her chin with her jade arm, and mused, my lord, in my view, there are 3 possibilities why this robber cultivator acts this way. One is that they possess absolute power and completely disregard us, using this method for revenge. After all, many madmen seeking revenge like to display themselves in this way. Another is that it's all smoke and mirrors. Considering this person's identity, a remnant of the robber cultivator from 10 years ago, the fact that they didn't show themselves indicates that at the most, they were at the peak of qi refinement. 10 years have passed, and even with some opportunity, they could at most be at middle stage foundation establishment. Such strength is insufficient for revenge, hence they use these tactics to intimidate and trouble us. Lastly, it might be a method to confuse us, keeping us worried and alert for some time until we let our guard down, and then strike unexpectedly, either against Red Leaf Valley Market or one of the families. Ling Zixiao stated slowly. I think there's another possibility, Xiao Xia, with her cool and noble demeanor, said, considering the current information, this remnant of the robber cultivator is likely not alone, they want revenge against Red Leaf Valley Market and the 4 families behind it. But in the Qingyun region, annihilating someone else's family without cause is viewed as an act of the demon path, especially if they act against the marketplace. So these people wanting to act against both the marketplace and the 4 families simultaneously is difficult, they can only target one family. Once they make their move, the other families will be on alert, drawing Qingyun sect's intervention. So even if they possess absolute power, it would be troublesome to continue targeting the remaining major families after, only to flee and hide under Qingyun sect's pursuit. Their actions, aside from arrogance and mystery, could also be a way to prompt consultations among the four families or to increase security at Red Leaf Valley Market, followed by their revenge. Chapter 697, I contracted a rank 3 spiritual beast before. Xianxia voiced her analysis. Not impossible. Upon hearing Xianxia's words, Ling Zixiao nodded slightly. Lu Chongsheng, listening to the conversation between the two women, pondered for a moment before looking at Ling Zixiao. Zixiao, how is your injury now? My lord, rest assured, my body has already recovered quite a bit. Should I encounter a situation like with Xiahou money in the past, I am now well able to cope. Moreover, with Daoist Xiao at home, along with the golden armor bean mother, second-rank puppets, my lord can rest assured to head to Qingzhou Mountain and Red Leaf Valley Market. Ling Zixiao, hearing Lu Changsheng's words, showed a slight smile and said so. Her complexion was still pale, but not as devoid of blood as before. With the treatment from the 9 treasures Rui Bone, her meridians and Danshan's recovery was limited, but the overall situation had improved markedly. Chongsheng, if you're going to Qingzhou Mountain and Red Leaf Valley, you still need to be careful. If it really comes down to it, I can ask for assistance from the Qingyun sect to station someone at Qingzhou Mountain. Xianxia said. She knew that Lu Chongsheng was quite exceptional. Having just broken through to Foundation establishment, he had been able to slay Meng Yibai, who was at the middle stage of Foundation establishment. But the true extent of Lu Changsheng's power remained unclear to her. With the current situation of the enemy hidden and us exposed, she did not want Lu Chongsheng to take any risks. Shiyu, rest assured, Lu Chongsheng smiled slightly, holding Xiaoxia's hand, and then turned to Ling Zixiao. It's not about that, Zixiao, do you remember I mentioned before about wanting you to set up a formation at the summit of Baiyun Peak? He had always wanted to plant the Mount Sumeru Tree King. However, considering Ling Zixiao's physical condition, he had not raised this request. Now, encountering such an incident, if Ling Zixiao's body had mostly recovered, he planned to plant the Mount Sumeru Tree King. This way, he wouldn't need to worry about home theft when he was away. Although at home, with Xiaoxia, Ling Zixiao, the golden armor bean mother, third-rank talismans, and second-rank puppets, they were unlikely to encounter any danger, but Ling Zixiao had only just started to recover, and he did not wish for her condition to worsen due to any situation. And Xiaoxia would also be leaving next year. Of course, I remember. My situation now is such that, as long as it is not the setting up of a large-scale formation, there shouldn't be any significant problem. My lord, what sort of formation do you want? Upon hearing these words, a stream of warmth flowed through Ling Zixiao's heart, and she answered with a gentle smile. This formation mainly needs to be able to conceal the situation at the mountain summit and the aura of a third-rank demon. Lu Chongsheng spoke. Third-rank demon aura. Both Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia were startled upon hearing this. Third-rank demon aura implied the presence of a third-rank demon king. Such level of demon beasts were revered as clan-guarding spiritual beasts wherever they were. By saying this, did Lu Chongsheng possess a third-rank spiritual beast? The two women looked at Lu Chongsheng with shocked and incredulous expressions. Seeing the astonishment and uncertainty in the eyes of the two women, Lu Chongsheng chuckled, "That's right, I happened to fortuitously contract a third-rank tree king by chance. Right now, this honored tree king resides within a certain extraordinary treasure, and once it is released, it will no longer be movable. Hence, I thought, Zixiao, now that you can set up a formation to conceal its aura, we could settle it at the summit of Baiyun Peak. That way, I wouldn't have to worry about any danger befalling the house." Lu Chongsheng said with a smile. A third-rank demon king, both Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia found it hard to believe and were momentarily at a loss for words upon hearing this. Even though they were aware of the great fortunes and secrets Lu Chongsheng possessed, that he was quite extraordinary. Binding a third-rank demon king as a spiritual beast during the Foundation establishment phase was simply too astonishing. You must know, that was a sovereign demon king. To make such a majestic being submit and become a contracted spiritual beast was nearly as difficult as ascending to divinity. Especially when there was such a discrepancy in strength, with Lu Chongsheng only at Foundation establishment. With Lu Chongsheng having such a third-rank spiritual beast to protect his family, he could quite confidently claim to be a cultivation clan. However, upon hearing Lu Changsheng's words, the two women also understood the problem. The Tree King. Unlike plant demon beasts, such as tree and vegetation spirits, which differ from furry, feathered, scaled, or insectoid demon beasts, if they haven't achieved transformation, they cannot move about freely. Therefore, contracting such a plant-based spiritual beast would be somewhat less deterrent in its external influence. Indeed, it might even invite trouble due to this factor. My lord, how strong is this third-rank demon king's power and aura? Ling Zixiao came back to her senses and asked Lu Chongsheng. This is something I can't quite describe, but it is among the stronger ones within the third rank, Lu Chongsheng pondered slightly. Although he did not know the exact strength of the Mount Sumer Tree King, the words low-grade true spirit already said everything. When a demon beast with a heavenly grade bloodline grows to the third rank, it is equivalent to a cultivator who has condensed a superior gold core. As such, being a true spirit level, the Mount Sumer Tree King should be undefeatable among its rank, shouldn't it? If it's just about simply concealing the Tree King's true form and aura, I can modify the inverted 5 elements formation to accomplish that, but once the Tree King takes action, its aura will be no longer concealable, Ling Zixiao said after a moment of consideration. That will be enough, this kind of thing is just a precaution after all, Lu Chongsheng said with a smile. Though the exposure of the Mount Sumer Tree King would likely cause him troubles, if it came down to such a dangerous situation, there would be no other choice. After all, revealing the Tree King was still better than being robbed at home. Moreover, by then, with the Mount Sumer Tree King at hand and his own power through the 9 treasure jade Rui comparable to core formation, he reckoned that unless there was an attack from a nascent soul true lord or the immortal sects, there wouldn't be too great a danger. And besides, I think I might even be able to summon a nascent soul immortal. Chapter 698, I contracted a rank 3 spiritual beast before. Lu Chongsheng thought about the promise from a nascent soul immortal he still held. Although 20 years had passed, he didn't know if this nascent soul immortal would still honor their previously made agreement. Besides these, he also had his connection to Xiao Xia. The master of the other party also seemed quite decent, previously willing to help when he encountered trouble in Qingyun's sect. Should it come to that, he might be able to rely on this connection to seek refuge with Qingyun's sect. As Lu Chongsheng calculated in such a manner, he suddenly felt that if he were to let loose completely, his strength would be sufficient to carve out a territory in the Qingyun region. However, such matters were only a thought to him. Unless absolutely necessary, he couldn't possibly reveal everything. After all, wasn't it better for him to develop peacefully and steadily? Alright, since it is so, I will set up a small-scale inverted 5 elements formation here. I will weaken and simplify the defensive, prohibitive, and enemy-confining effects of the formation, and enhance all of its concealing, illusory, and confusing effects. This way, we could shield the situation of the third-rank Tree King, Ling Zixiao said this. After speaking, she looked at Lu Chongsheng and said, however, my lord, you still need to consider one thing. If this Tree King starts to inhale and exhale spiritual energy, I'm afraid it will consume the entire spirit vein of Baiyun Peak. I have already thought about this problem, you can rest assured, Zi Xiao, Lu Chongsheng replied with a smile. Then I am relieved, but I will need my lord to prepare some materials for the formation, Ling Zixiao said with a faint smile. Alright, no problem. Lu Chongsheng nodded, immediately asking Ling Zixiao what materials were needed and how long it would take to set up the formation. Our family still has 2 array masters, so it won't take long to cover the peak of Baiyun Peak. It can be done in about 10 days, Ling Zixiao stated. Alright, No problem, Lu Chongqing nodded, checked what materials were missing, then concealed his form and went out. He prepared to make a trip to Jianghu Mountain and the Red Leaf Valley Market to purchase all the materials. Meanwhile, Nine Dragons Market. In a small courtyard. The message has already been sent to the 4 major families. Let them fall into chaos for a while, and when the time is right, well, go rob the Red Leaf Valley Market. Once the 4 families' Foundation establishment members come to support, we'll be able to kill them all in one fell swoop and avenge you brother's parents. Tao Xiaolan, wearing a peach-colored dress, said. She wanted her partner to achieve clarity of thought and be freed from hatred, even considering replicating actions from the past. It's a pity that the Yu family has been destroyed. I still wanted to flay and dismember that person, to offer my parents' spirits in heaven. Fang Yu said bitterly. Among the 4 major families, he hated the Yu family the most. Because it was the patriarch of the Yu family who interfered with his parents, otherwise they still had a chance to escape. Although he hated the nameless sword cultivator who killed his parents, this hatred had nowhere to vent. He planned to investigate the information and seek revenge once he advanced further in strength. I've inquired a bit about the 4 families, and we need to be a bit wary of Lu Chongqing from the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. This man once used a talisman formation to kill 3 of the Yu family's Foundation establishment cultivators. Although they were only 1 middle stage and 2 early stage cultivators, he's not someone to be underestimated, a middle-aged man with a fair complexion and a soft, feminine brow said. Although they did not view the Red Leaf Valley Market or the 4 major families seriously, as robber cultivators who had traveled far and wide, they still maintained a level of caution. Upon arriving at the Red Leaf Valley Market, they also discreetly learned about the situation of the 4 major families. Talisman formation? This thing is indeed out of the ordinary. Once in Yu country, I encountered a kid from the Beast Talisman sect. He sacrificed a pile of talismans, forming a talisman formation, and nearly caused me, the Buddha, to capsize in the gutter and fall into his hands. A burly, bald man with a scarred head said this. Oh, second brother actually encountered such a matter? What was the kid's cultivation level that he nearly tripped you up? Upon hearing this, Fang Yu asked. He knew well his second brother's prowess, who had just broken through to the late stage of Foundation establishment, but long possessed a corporeal body of the late stage of Foundation establishment. That kid was at the early stage of Foundation establishment, but he sacrificed 100 talismans in an instant, forming a strange beast. If it wasn't for Buddha's Vajra Overlord body and talisman treasure for protection, I really wouldn't have been able to break his talisman formation. The bald man touched the scar on his head, recalling with unease. Talisman formation technique is indeed powerful, but this method has a fatal flaw. At this moment, the red-robed man, sitting upright and dominating at the head of the table, said. He propped up his thick and muscular legs on the table, continuing, all the might of this talisman formation lies in the talismans. Ordinary cultivators don't snatch them, talismans rely on being purchased with money, or drawing them themselves, so how many talismans can they have? So indeed, such techniques can only serve as a trump card, a life-saving means. That kid used the talisman formation to kill 3 Foundation establishment members back then, which means this is his ace in the hole. Only a few years have passed. How many talismans could he possibly have left on him? So when the time comes, just pay a little more attention to this youngster. However, for someone of his inheritance to have such ability is also good news for us. This kind of talisman formation inheritance is worth a lot of money. The red-robed man, large and imposing as a mountain, took out a wine jug, took a swig, and spoke loudly. Heh, talisman formation inheritance, I've got to study that well when the time comes, the bald man said, smiling at the thought. Not only that, I've inquired slightly, and this fellow's fortunes are quite extraordinary. The fair-skinned middle-aged man showed a sly smile, and continued. Kaka, it seems we've found ourselves a fat sheep, thanks to our 5th brother. Chapter 699, I contracted a rank 3 spiritual beast before. _4, not to mention anything else, the opportunities this lad has had alone make our trip worthwhile." A thin, sallow-faced elder in a black robe cackled with laughter. As the others chatted and conversed, a burst of cheerful laughter filled the hall. "Qingzhou Mountain, Qingzhou Hall. Chongsheng, how about I go to the Red Leaf Valley Market to watch over things, and let Miaoge stay at home to hold the fort?" Lu Yuanzhong suggested to Lu Chongsheng. "Uncle, there's no need for that. With this second-rank communication talisman and these three, if anything comes up, contact me immediately, and I will rush over as fast as I can." Though Lu Chongsheng thought the proposal was good, after consideration, he still declined. After all, he had a rough idea of Lu Yuanzhong's combat abilities. Let alone being affected by injuries, even in his prime, his strength was quite average. Lu Miaoge might only be at the first layer of foundation establishment, but with her practice of the water of virtue technique and her perfect foundation base, her mana is powerful. And with the second-rank talismans, third-rank talismans, and talisman treasures he had given her, her strength was sufficient to deal with anyone at the middle stage of foundation establishment. She could even slay those at the late stage of foundation establishment if they were weak enough. Plus, if she couldn't win, she could still escape with the help of the talismans. "Alright, Chongsheng, you also need to be extra careful." Lu Yuanzhong nodded upon hearing this and said no more. Having seen how Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge treated him earlier, he knew their mana was far stronger than his. If it weren't for the fear of losing face, he would even consider sparring with Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge to gauge the gap between them. "Rest assured, uncle," Lu Chongsheng nodded. He then went to pay respects to his father-in-law, Lu Yuanding, and the fourth elder. Years had passed, and Lu Yuanding had aged considerably, with much more white hair. Looking at his father-in-law, Lu Chongsheng felt quite nostalgic. He vividly remembered how the man had taken him back to the Lu family at the foot of the Qingyan sect. After paying his respects, Lu Chongsheng prepared to leave. At that moment, a woman was supporting an old, stooped man nearby. The two were talking about something. The old man looked at Lu Chongsheng and immediately called out, "Greetings to Lu Mountain Lord." Uncle Gui. Upon seeing the elder, Lu Chongsheng stopped, nodded with a smile, and greeted him. This old man was the Qingzhou Villa's 100 Treasures Pavilion shopkeeper who had taken good care of him in the past. "Greetings to Lu Mountain Lord." The woman beside him looked at Lu Chongsheng with a complex expression and respectfully greeted him. "Little Moon, long time no see." Lu Chongsheng nodded slightly, recognizing her as Uncle Gui's granddaughter. After a brief exchange with the two, he took out a bottle of elixir medicine from his storage bag that could nourish the flesh and gifted it to Uncle Gui. Although the man possessed the cultivation level of qi refinement, 5th layer, his years of hard work had taken a toll on his health. If he could nourish himself with the elixir medicine, he would be able to live a few years longer. "Please accept it, Uncle Gui. You took good care of me in the past. It'll trouble you to pass these 2 bottles of elixir medicine to Uncle Fu and Lu Bo on my behalf," Lu Chongsheng said, taking out 2 more bottles for the other 2 stewards. "Thank you, Lu Mountain Lord." Both expressed their gratitude, and watching Lu Chongsheng walk away, they were filled with emotion. They had never thought that the once son-in-law, who had become a formidable ancestor and master of a mountain, would still remember the kindness they showed him and display such warmth. Upon arriving at the Red Leaf Valley Market, Lu Chongsheng met with Lu Miaoge and spoke about the matter of the robber cultivators. Lu Miaoge had already received the news and said she would increase patrols and be more vigilant in the Red Leaf Valley Market during this time. Afterwards, Lu Chongsheng also asked Lu Miaoge to help see if they could gather all the materials needed for the family's array in the Red Leaf Valley Market, so he wouldn't have to make another trip to any other marketplaces. Chapter 700, Su Ruyan, Is This a Heaven-Rank Demon Beast? _One night. Enveloped by the hazy moonlight and the powerful formation, the entire Red Leaf Valley Market appeared as if draped in a thin, light veil, lending it a mysterious and solemn air. At this late hour, silence reigned, save for the rustling of the red maple trees and the faint sounds of patrolling guards. In a simple yet elegant cave dwelling, Lu Chongqing caressed Lu Maiage's flawless jade body, which was flushed pink from warmth, and covered in fine beads of sweat, completing the last step of the tender embrace technique. He merged the dual cultivation's yin essence with his own yang essence, thereby transforming 1 into 2, 2 into 3, and returning it all back. Lu Maiage's beautiful face, fair as snow, blushed like the dawn, as radiant and vibrant as peach blossoms, while her delicate body trembled gently as if it were mud softened by water. Lu Chongqing embraced his beloved wife, his palm gently caressing her soft and smooth skin, akin to mutton fat jade. After breaking through foundation establishment while practicing the water of virtue technique, not only Lu Maiage's temperament but also her physique became even more perfect and flawless. After a moment, Lu Chongqing tenderly inquired, "Sister Miaoge, how long until you break through to the second level of foundation establishment?" "I currently have 126 drops of liquefied mana, and I estimate it will take another 2 to 3 years to break through to the second level." Lu Maiage's beautiful eyes shimmered like water, and her rosy cheeks seemed to burn with fire, making her graceful and gentle face indescribably radiant. 2 to 3 years. Lu Chongqing nodded slightly upon hearing her words. He knew that Lu Maiage's progress was delayed by everyday trifles, as well as by treating Lu Yuanzhong and Ling Zixiao. Otherwise, with the aid of the elixir medicines he had provided, her cultivation would not be so slow. With his hands feeling the supple smoothness, he inhaled the orchid musk fragrance of his wife and posed another question, "Sister Miaoge, currently in Jianghu Mountain, who do you think is suitable for attempting foundation establishment?" There was just one ingredient missing for the concoction of the foundation establishment elixir. If he was not able to acquire it this year, Lu Chongqing planned to have Xiao Xia exchange for one from the Qingyan sect. Therefore, by next year at the latest, he should be able to gather the necessary ingredients and refine the foundation establishment elixir. He had long decided on how to distribute the foundation building elixir. With his alchemy skills, he could stably produce 3 pills. Out of the 3 foundation establishment elixirs, one would go to Jianghu Mountain, and another to Bailing. As for the remaining one, he would decide based on the situation at the time. Attempting foundation establishment? Upon hearing this, Lu Maiage's face showed a hint of contemplation as she said, "Currently, only Miao Feng and Mu Ping in our family are capable of attempting foundation establishment. If I were to choose, Miao Feng is definitely more suitable than Mu Ping. Not only has he had one attempt at foundation establishment, but he has also gone through more tempering and has a more steadfast Dao heart." "Chongqing, what's the matter?" Lu Miaoge looked at Lu Chongqing, asking him. "I previously obtained a special second-rank monster core, and I have been collecting ingredients for the foundation establishment elixir over the past few years. Now, I have almost all the ingredients I need. If all goes well, I should be able to gather them all next year and refine the foundation establishment elixir. Thus, I am thinking of giving one foundation establishment elixir to Jianghu Mountain, so someone from the family can break through to foundation establishment, and you, Sister Miaoge, won't have to strain yourself so much. You can then cultivate in peace at Bai Lake Mountain," Lu Chongqing said while shaping a snow figure with his hands. Foundation establishment elixir. Upon hearing this, Lu Maiage's face showed surprise, her heart throbbing. She had already been deeply moved by Lu Chongqing preparing a foundation establishment elixir for her. She had not expected that Lu Chongqing could obtain another foundation establishment elixir and had even planned to give one to Jianghu Mountain for her sake. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. After all, she wasn't the kind of family's missy who had never experienced hardship. She knew all too well how difficult it was to acquire a foundation establishment elixir. Moreover, Bai Lake Mountain was currently running at a loss, relying solely on Lu Chongqing, the head of the household. In such a situation, Lu Chongqing was still thinking about her and Jianghu Mountain. "Chongqing, if it is convenient, I will speak to my uncle later, so that the family can prepare spirit stones or write an IOU." Lu Miaoge lightly bit her lip, her eyes brimming like liquid. Although she had an inextricable emotional attachment to Jianghu Mountain and wished for it to improve continuously, as Lu Changsheng's wife, she felt she already owed him enough and didn't want her husband to keep giving so much. If Lu Changsheng obtained a foundation establishment elixir and privately sold it to Jianghu Mountain, in her eyes it was already a great gesture. After all, it was very difficult for ordinary loose cultivators and families to acquire a foundation establishment elixir, outside of chance and luck, or the Purple Shadow secret realm. They could only hope to buy it at auctions in the 3 great immortal cities. The foundation establishment elixir is not yet refined, so you don't need to speak explicitly about this matter. But you can hint at it, so the family can make preparations and try to purchase ingredients suitable for their foundation establishment. Lu Changsheng said with a smile, inhaling the fragrance of his wife's hair. Money wasn't his main concern. After all, he had received a lot of support from the Lu family, and he had connections with Lu Miaoge, Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyun, Lu Lanshu, and so forth. What he truly cared about was whether the foundation establishment would be successful after giving away the elixir. Although Miao Feng and Mu Ping both had middle-grade spiritual roots, with a foundation establishment elixir, their chances of successful foundation establishment were around 40 to 50%. But frankly, this rate wasn't considered very high. He didn't want to give away the elixir only to have Jianghu Mountain fail at foundation establishment. Alright, I will speak to my uncle about this later and have Miao Feng and Mu Ping make the necessary preparations too. Lu Miaoge replied softly, her eyes full of tender affection. Once we have a new foundation establishment in the family, Sister Miaoge, you can also settle down and cultivate properly. After a few more years, when the situation is stable, we, along with Huan, will visit Qing Shan and Little Zhu at the Jinyang sect. Lu Changsheng held his wife and spoke. Okay. Upon hearing these words, Lu Miaoge's face lit up with smiles, looking stunningly beautiful. Chapter 701, Su Ruyan, is this a heaven-rank demon beast? Once, her goals were foundation establishment and family. Now that she had achieved foundation establishment, her thoughts gradually focused on her family. All she hoped for was a happy family and for Bai Lake Mountain and Jianghu Mountain to both prosper more and more. Bai Lake Mountain. To have Miss Su from the Su family stay at my Bai Lake Mountain for a few days? At the mountain gate, Lu Miaoyun looked at the patriarch Zheng and Su Ruyan before her, her delicate eyebrows slightly furrowed. Patriarch Zheng, Miss Su, please wait a moment, she said. She passed the message on to Ling Zixiao. If it had been an ordinary visit, she would have dared to make a decision. But with the recent incident involving the Copper Bell rogue cultivator, she was unsure of what to do at the moment. To stay at our place for a few days? Ling Zixiao, upon hearing this, came to the mountain gate and appraised Su Ruyan. She had soft, shining, fiery red hair, a delicate and aloof face, a curvaceous figure, wearing a splendid dress interwoven with gold and red threads. Her looks, figure, and temperament were all top-notch. My husband has been at home for all these years. It's normal for him to attract a young lady on his rare outings, Ling Zixiao remarked to herself as she observed Su Ruyan. Otherwise, why would a young woman come to their home seeking refuge from disaster? And even if she did come to seek refuge, it wouldn't be by herself, would it? Miaoyun, please arrange for Miss Su to stay at Bai Lake Villa, Ling Zixiao said with a slight smile. Setting aside whether there was any relationship between Lu Changsheng and Su Ruyan, given the relationship between the Lu and Zheng families, and considering the face of the Yushui Su family, it would be difficult to refuse such a request from the other party. Very well, Miss Su, please follow me, Lu Miaoyun said immediately after hearing this, leading Su Ruyan to Bai Lake Villa. Afterward, Ling Zixiao invited Patriarch Zheng into the mountain for tea, inquiring why he had only sent Miss Su over. It was Miss Su herself who insisted, Patriarch Zheng explained with a wry smile. He mentioned that his family originally planned to settle Su Ruyan and several young family members in the Nine Dragons Market, but Su Ruyan expressed that Bai Lake Mountain was closer to Wugong Ridge, and she wished to stay there temporarily until her ancestors arrived. I truly apologize for bothering Senior Ling, Patriarch Zheng said as he cupped his hands. Had it not been for Su Ruiyan's insistent request, he too would not have wanted to trouble by Lake Mountain. After all, sending people to the Nine Dragons Market would also ensure their safety, and sending them to By Lake Mountain instead would mean owing a favor. You are too courteous, Patriarch Zheng, Ling Zixiao replied on hearing this. Almost convinced of her earlier guess, Ling Zixiao felt this young lady must have feelings for Lu Changsheng, or else she wouldn't have taken such an initiative. After a brief conversation, Patriarch Zheng did not stay for further discussion and took his leave. By Lake Villa. Lu Miaoyun settled Su Ruiyan in a tranquil attic. She told her she'd be staying there and could seek her out for anything she needed. Thank you for your troubles, Mrs. Lu, Su Ruiyan expressed her gratitude to Lu Miaoyun. So this is By Lake Mountain? I wonder if Lu Changsheng's heaven-rank demon beast is on this By Lake Mountain. Su Ruiyan looked out the window at the scenery, musing secretly to herself. Since being at Zheng family's place, she had sensed the aura of a heaven-rank demon beast from Lu Changsheng. Therefore, she had been trying to find a way to get close to Lu Changsheng. She wanted to see the state of Lu Changsheng's heaven-rank demon beast and whether there was a chance for her to obtain it. After all, her cultivation level was already at the 9th level of energy refinement, and it wouldn't take much longer before she could make a break for foundation establishment. However, she didn't want to achieve it just like that. Her desire was to contract a heaven-rank demon beast first and then form a beastly Dao foundation. Only by doing so could she respond in kind at the family competition, exchanging tooth for tooth, blood for blood, returning all the hatred her father faced to those responsible. The recent event with the rogue cultivator delivering the clock made her realize it was an opportunity. So, she used it as a pretext to ask the Zheng family to send her to By Lake Mountain to see if she could detect the presence of a heaven-rank demon beast. Senior Hong Lian, with you concealing my form and aura, is it possible to deceive the great formation of By Lake Mountain? Su Ruiyan inquired in her mind. This great formation of By Lake Mountain is only of the 2nd rank, and as long as it is not fully operational, it should not be a big problem, a serene, clear, and gentle voice replied in Su Ruiyan's mind. Just then, the serene and clear voice paused. Su Ruiyan felt something at that moment, turning her gaze toward the sky outside the window. There she saw a young woman in a moon-white dress, flying towards Bai Shui Lake with a little girl of 6 or 7 years old in a pink silk dress. Su Ruiyan stared intently at the little girl's seat, a plump, ice-blue turtle emitting a faint chill, looking utterly adorable. Is this a heaven-rank demon beast? Su Ruiyan was a bit bewildered. She had been intending to use Senior Hong Lian's power to conceal herself and investigate By Lake Mountain. But unexpectedly, the heaven-rank demon beast she had so longed for and thought about endlessly, she yearned for so greatly, appeared right before her eyes. If not for the reaction of the beast technique, she would hardly believe that the turtle the little girl was riding was a heaven-rank bloodline demon beast. Senior Hong Lian, Su Ruiyan reached out with her mind. Indeed, this is a heaven-rank bloodline demon beast, the serene and clear voice spoke once again. Not only was Su Ruiyan taken aback, but so was the voice in her head, both were astonished beyond belief. It was hard to imagine that a heaven-rank demon beast would be ridden and played with by a little girl. Red Leaf Valley Market. Since the inverted 5 elements formation that Ling Zixiao had set up was only a small formation, the required materials were not numerous. Ling Zixiao had also taken into consideration the rarity of materials and listed all possible substitutes. Therefore, it took Lu Changsheng just 2 days to gather all the materials needed for the formation in the Red Leaf Valley Market. In those 2 days, Lu Changsheng also received feedback from the other 3 families regarding their stance on the rogue cultivator incident, which was to be vigilant, contact each other immediately if anything happened, and provide mutual assistance. Chapter 702, Su Ruiyan, is this a heaven-rank demon beast? After all, the 4 families couldn't possibly close off their mountains because of a single threat and abandon Red Leaf Valley Market. Following that, the four families jointly reported the matter to Qingyun sect. Though the sect would at most conduct a cursory investigation into such matters, they still needed to file a report. Sister Miaoga, if bandit cultivators really attack, send me a message right away. If there's danger, use the talisman I gave you, your safety comes first. Once I've settled some matters at home, I will come over, Lu Chongsheng instructed Lu Miaoga. Okay, Chongsheng, rest assured. Lu Miaoga's beautiful eyes were gentle as water, as she smiled warmly. Most of the time, it was she who told Lu Chongsheng to be careful and watch out. Now, to be cautioned by Lu Chongsheng like a little child, she found it slightly amusing, and a warm current surged in her heart. Lu Chongsheng hugged his wife, then concealing his true face, left Red Leaf Valley Market and returned to Bai Lake Mountain. On the way, he was highly vigilant to guard against the bandit cultivator who could be lying in wait for him. However, the journey was very smooth, and nothing unexpected occurred. Once home, Lu Chongsheng handed over the array materials to Ling Zixiao. My lord, at this time, Ling Zixiao conveyed a matter to Lu Chongsheng. Su Ruyan. At the mention of this name, Lu Changsheng's brows furrowed. Correct, the Zheng family currently has no foundation establishment cultivators in residence and is afraid that bandit cultivators might visit after receiving the copper bell. Thus, the day after you, my lord, had departed, Patriarch Zheng sent this Miss Su to our Bai Lake Mountain. Hoping that this Miss Su could stay at our place for a while and wait for someone from the Yushui Su family to come. Ling Zixiao said so, her posture full and graceful, speaking with dignified elegance. Where is she now? Lu Chongsheng inquired. She has been arranged to stay at Bai Lake Villa. Ling Zixiao replied as such. She noticed that Lu Changsheng's expression was not quite right and asked, My lord, is there a problem with this girl? It's not so much a problem, but when I previously visited the Zheng family for the funeral, I saw this girl. Lu Chongsheng made no secret of it before Ling Zixiao. He indicated that while he was at the Zheng family, she kept stealing glances at him, which was not normal. With a young and promising husband like yours, not only are you a foundation establishment cultivator and a master of the talisman path, but you are also a mountain lord, and on top of that, you're so handsome. It's perfectly normal for a young girl to sneak peeks and fall in love, Ling Zixiao said, her tone half jesting. Are you making fun of your husband? Lu Chongsheng naturally detected the playful tone in her voice and wrapped his arms around her full waist. Ling Zixiao let out a soft cry and then spoke earnestly. Initially, I talked with Patriarch Zheng for a moment. His intention was to send the girl to Nine Dragons Market to stay temporarily, waiting for someone from the Yushui Su family to come. But the girl, on her own accord, suggested coming to Bai Lake Mountain. At that time, I thought this young girl had taken a liking to you, my lord. Now it seems she must have another motive. Ling Zixiao spoke, her elegant features revealing a hint of playfulness. But besides talismans, I haven't revealed my alchemy skills. What can she be after? Lu Chongsheng stroked his chin as he said this. I do not know that, Ling Zixiao gently shook her head. She initially thought Lu Chongsheng had some connection with Su Ruyan, seeing as in her eyes, Lu Chongsheng was an ideal partner in all respects except one could not easily judge matters of the opposite sex. Alright, you can proceed with the array formation. I must ask Yuner to keep an eye on this Miss Su from the Su family. Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed as he spoke. If before he was just being cautious around Su Ruyan, now he felt there was definitely something amiss about her. All right. Ling Zixiao nodded her head, not wanting to delay. She summoned the two array masters in the family to start setting up a formation on the summit of Baiyun Peak. Yuner, Yongwan, these next few days, you could go and see Miss Su, chat with her from time to time. Lu Chongsheng arrived at the Lu family mansion and said to Lu Miaoyun and Zheng Yongwan. Both women, one as the lady of the Lu family and the other connected to the Zheng family, visiting Su Ruyan was normal, to see if they could catch any hint of intent. Yes, husband. Upon hearing Lu Changsheng's words, both women nodded. Upon his request, they subconsciously assumed their husband must have an unusual relationship with this Miss Su from the Su family. Especially Zheng Yongwan. Although she lacked Lu Changsheng's divine sense, her female intuition made her take note of the Su family miss glancing at her husband from time to time while they were at the Zheng family. She couldn't help but speculate in her heart, wondering if this Miss Su would become one of the sisters in the household. She had inquired about this Miss Su before. She was the pearl of the Yushui Su family, and it was unlikely she would marry easily. However, considering how proactive this Miss Su was, such an eventuality didn't seem impossible. Chapter 703, The Tree King Appears, Within the Cave Heaven. _1 Blue Lake Mountain. Inside the manor's grand hall. Ruyan has been troubling Lu Mountain Lord these past few days. Su Renguang said politely to Lu Changsheng. He had just arrived at Wugong Ridge when he heard from the Zheng family that his beloved granddaughter had gone to stay temporarily at Blue Lake Mountain. Upon hearing this news, he was terrified and rushed to Blue Lake Mountain without stopping to take his precious granddaughter back. After all, he had heard of the great reputation of Lu Changsheng. Not only was he a son-in-law from Qingzhou Mountain who became a Foundation Establishment great cultivator, a master of the Talisman Path, and single-handedly killed 3 Foundation Establishment cultivators, but he also established the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. Another thing that was widely talked about was his zeal for marrying and having children. In just over 20 years, he had amassed over 50 wives and concubines and more than 150 children, essentially creating a clan all by himself. So hearing that his granddaughter had run off to Blue Lake Mountain, he was terrified that Lu Changsheng might lay his hands on her. If anything were to happen between the two of them, he couldn't even bear to imagine it. Su Daoyu is too kind. Lu Changsheng said with a chuckle. Grandpa. At this moment, Lu Miaoyun and Su Ruyan arrived in the hall. Su Renguang looked at his granddaughter with displeasure, then stood up and said with cupped hands, Lu Mountain Lord, I have other matters to attend to and must not stay for long, I will take my leave now. If Lu Mountain Lord is ever free in the future, you are welcome to visit the Su family anytime. After speaking and leaving a gift behind, he took his granddaughter Su Ruyan and bid farewell, leaving Blue Lake Mountain. Su Daoyu, take care. Lu Changsheng saw the two out of the mountain gate. But seeing the other party's face filled with relief and haste in taking his granddaughter away, he felt a hint of inexplicable insult. My family kindly took in your granddaughter with ulterior motives, and yet you behave like this, distrustful of my character, aren't you? Yuner, have you or Xiaowan noticed anything amiss about Miss Su in the past few days? At this time, Lu Changsheng turned to Lu Miaoyun, who was standing beside him, and asked. Nothing out of the ordinary, Miss Su only went out to the lake once in these 5 days, the rest of the time she was cultivating alone in her room. Lu Miaoyun shook her head slightly and spoke, Husband, what's wrong? Nothing, I just feel that Miss Su is a bit of a problem. Lu Changsheng said casually. A problem? Lu Miaoyun's face showed a thoughtful expression. But after thinking for a long time, she couldn't recall anything about Miss Su that seemed problematic. If she really had to say there was a problem, it would be her lack of interest in her own husband. After all, according to Xiaowan, Miss Su from the Su family might have developed feelings for her own husband. But now that she's come to Blue Lake Mountain, she hasn't shown too much of it these past days. 6 days later. At the summit of Baiyun Peak. Inverted 5 elements formation, activate. Ling Zixiao placed the flags and array plate properly, then went to the formation's eye and inserted one spell after another into the array plate. Wang, dash, the next moment, flags around the peak flapped in the wind, beams of light appeared, and the spiritual mechanism surged, forming a 5-colored glass pillar. My lord, the formation is ready, you can give it a try, Ling Zixiao said to Lu Changsheng. Okay. Lu Changsheng turned into a streak of light and flew out of the peak. As the 5-colored glass pillar on the peak twisted, it gradually vanished, turning into a hazy white mist. The white mist swirled, and the peak reappeared, but everything on the mountain was gone, the trees, Ling Zixiao, Xianxia, Changsheng Hall, all invisible. Lu Changsheng channeled mana into his eyes, hoping to see through the formation and make out the situation inside. However, layers of fog-like obstruction shielded his view. He could somewhat discern that the scene before him was an illusion but could not see clearly inside. When he used his divine sense to probe, he felt an invisible barrier preventing the divine sense from penetrating. Subsequently, Lu Changsheng descended back onto the peak. The scene before him on the peak, the trees and all, felt as real as the actual landscape. The sensation was genuine. Lu Changsheng tried to locate the aura of Ling Zixiao and Xianxia but couldn't sense them at all. So this is the power of a formation. It seems I will have to learn some formation techniques in the future, Lu Changsheng mused. Otherwise, if I were to enter some formation, I might end up trapped and die within it. Although he said this, he currently had two methods of breaking through formations. One was to use an unsealing talisman to break the formation. Another was the eighth divine skill of his 9 treasures Rui Bone, the unsealing divine light, which could break all sorts of formation restrictions. Lu Changsheng strolled around the peak for a couple of rounds but no matter what, was unable to enter the real Baiyun Peak summit. He nodded in satisfaction and said, "This will do, Zi Shao." As his words fell, the scenery before him began to shift and Lu Changsheng saw he was standing exactly in the center of the peak summit. And Ling Zixiao and Xianxia were close by. "How was it, my lord?" Ling Zixiao, holding the array plate with a light smile, asked. "Good, the inverted 5 elements formation's illusionary and confusing effects have no issues, though we still need to check on the aspect of the magic aura," Lu Changsheng said with a smile. Then he turned to Xianxia and said, "Shiyu, I'll release my mana aura in a moment, can you tell if you can sense it?" "Okay," Xianxia nodded lightly in response. "Then, Dao Yu Shao, I will start the formation for you," Ling Zixiao said to Xianxia. And then she activated the array plate with her mana. Lu Changsheng could clearly see the top of the peak's formation mechanism surging, a stream of 5-colored glass light flowing, enveloping Xianxia. "Changsheng, it's ready," Xianxia said. She was in a moon-white dress, her face calm and tranquil, looking towards Lu Changsheng, her beautiful eyes as serene and clear as the moon in the sky. "Okay." Upon hearing her, Lu Changsheng's mana surged from his dantian. His middle-stage foundation establishment mana, augmented by the profound origin bead, surged like a raging river, surrounding him with an aura of late-stage foundation establishment pressure. Chapter 704, The Tree King Emerges, Inside the Cave Heaven. This, Ling Zixiao stared at the scene in a daze, her beautiful eyes revealing surprise and doubt. She knew that Lu Changsheng was breaking through to the middle stage of foundation establishment on his way back from Zhuxiao Immortal City. But at the moment, spiritual pressure surged around Lu Changsheng's body, far surpassing the middle stage of foundation establishment and reaching the late stage. "Shiyu, can you sense my magic aura?" Lu Changsheng asked Xianxia. "My lord, Xiao Daoist friend can't hear your voice right now," Ling Zixiao spoke out, then made a hand spell and conveyed the message to Xianxia. "Changsheng, I can't sense your magical spiritual pressure, but somehow, I can feel where you are," Xianxia said. "Somehow, you can feel where I am?" Lu Changsheng raised his eyebrows upon hearing this. He thought to himself that there was such a method. "My lord, do you have any means of communication with Xiao Daoist friend? The formation is primarily for hiding, illusion, and confusion. You and Xiao Daoist friend are both within the formation. If there's some treasure, you can still sense each other's presence." Ling Zixiao immediately said to Lu Changsheng. "Means of communication, treasure?" Lu Changsheng subconsciously took out a yin-yang sensing talisman. But in the next moment, he figured out what was happening. Dao Foundation. When he was condensing his Dao Foundation, he used Xiaoxia's Supreme Yin Moonlight as the basis. Therefore, there was an inexplicable connection between them. That's also why the dual cultivation effects between him and Xiaoxia were far superior to others. Now, without the jade pendant to conceal his aura and running his magical spiritual pressure to its peak, and with them not being far from each other, Xianxia was able to sense him through the Dao foundation. "It's okay, it doesn't affect anything," Lu Chongqing said, then with a slight move of his mental spirit, he activated the 9 treasures Rui Bone, 9 treasures Rui Qi. Boom! In an instant, the mana in Lu Changsheng's dantian surged like a breached river and an erupting volcano, his spiritual pressure climbing steadily. This spiritual pressure made Ling Zixiao beside him feel a certain pressure. Ling Zixiao looked at Lu Chongqing in front of her, her beautiful eyes filled with disbelief. It was astonishing enough that Lu Chongqing had revealed the spiritual pressure of the late stage of foundation establishment. But now, his spiritual pressure was still rising, almost surpassing the foundation establishment stage. The air around them felt dense and heavy, making it difficult to breathe. Having a contractual bond with a third-rank demon king, being in the middle stage of foundation establishment, revealing a spiritual pressure that nearly surpasses the peak of foundation establishment, at this moment, Ling Zixiao didn't even know what to say about Lu Chongqing. After many years of knowing him, she thought she had seen just the tip of the iceberg. But now, she found Lu Chongqing as enigmatic as ever, shrouded in mystery. Even if Lu Chongqing claimed to be the reincarnation of a great power or a true immortal, she would believe it. Zi Shao, Lu Chongqing slightly reduced the spiritual pressure directed at Ling Zixiao and called out to her. He asked her to inquire with Xianxia if she could sense the magic aura. Upon Ling Zixiao's questioning, Xianxia indicated that she could not feel the magic aura. "Good, that's fine," Lu Chongqing said with a loud laugh. He stopped the effect of the 9 treasures Rui Bone, and his aura fell sharply, leaving him feeling empty. Chongqing, Xianxia's cold and moon-like beautiful eyes softened a few degrees when she saw Lu Chongqing. The next moment, she expressed her surprise. "Chongqing, you've just broken through to the middle stage of foundation establishment?" She and Lu Chongqing had broken through foundation establishment together. But she had only just reached the 3rd level of foundation establishment not too long ago. Yet Lu Chongqing was already at the middle stage, which was very surprising to her. "I had a bit of fortune before," Lu Chongqing said with a smile, downplaying it. Xianxia didn't say much. After all, compared to all the various mysteries surrounding Lu Chongqing, his middle stage cultivation level didn't seem so remarkable. "Since there is no problem, Zi Shao, I'm going to release the Tree King. You two should move back a bit," Lu Chongqing said to Ling Zixiao and Xianxia. Okay, the 2 women nodded and moved back to Chongqing Hall, full of anticipation and curiosity about what the Demon King contracted by Lu Chongqing would look like. Even though they were both well-seasoned and knowledgeable, they had never been up close with such a formidable Demon King. Extract. Lu Chongqing focused his mental spirit and looked at the Mount Summer Tree King in the system. The next moment. Boom! A towering ancient tree, dozens of meters tall and remarkably robust, appeared. The ancient tree was entirely like gold and jade, with a brilliant luster flowing all over it. Its roots emanated strands of auspicious air, making it seem extremely sacred. The leaves of the tree crown were very peculiar, some were dazzling gold, some transparent as jade, and some a rich green, diffusing a rich fragrance and divine light. With a gentle sway, it seemed like the chanting of Buddhist hymns arose, calming the heart and spirit of those who heard it. Upon the Mount Summer Tree King's appearance, auspicious air surged across the entire mountaintop like a vast ocean, almost filling the peak of Baiyun Peak and releasing strands of its vast aura. "So this is the 3rd-rank Tree King contracted by my lord, Chongqing." Ling Zixiao and Xianxia were both full of wonder and amazement as they looked at the Mount Summer Tree King. Even though they didn't know exactly what type of tree demon it was, they could tell just by the appearance that it was no ordinary 3rd-rank spirit plant. If someone told them it was some rare and ancient spirit plant of heaven and earth, they would believe it, because the appearance of the Mount Summer Tree King was simply too extraordinary. "Master," a pure and ethereal voice spoke. The voice was soft, beautiful, lofty and ethereal, like a wistful celestial chant that could easily soothe the restlessness within one's heart and even prompt those full of sin to lay down their weapons in penance and sorrow. This call of a master made Lu Changsheng's spirit ripple gently. He hadn't expected the voice of the Mount Summer Tree King to be so pleasant. If it took human form, he speculated that its appearance would likely be as attractive as its voice. Chapter 705, The Tree King Emerges, Inside the Cave Heaven. He knew the Mount Summer Tree King was inquiring about whether he had made the decision to take root and settle down here. Given the current situation of the Mount Summer Tree King, it was able to move for short durations. Let's just do it here. The palace takes up too much space. You can take it directly into the Mount Summer space, but be careful not to damage the formation of the mountain. Lu Changsheng pondered for a moment before speaking to the Mount Summer Tree King. Having extracted the Mount Summer Tree King, he now had a detailed understanding of it. Third rank early stage cultivation level, with a self-contained cave heaven within, nurturing its own expanse of the world. This world could accommodate people, objects, demon beasts, or used for cultivation, and more. Moreover, the Mount Summeru Tree King could proactively bring people or items into the Mount Summeru Cave Heaven. This was one of the skills of the Mount Summeru Tree King. If enemies were encountered, it could suppress and imprison them within the Mount Summeru Cave Heaven. After speaking, he pulled Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia to the side. "Yes, Master." The ethereal and pure voice rang out, and then a golden divine light descended, shining upon the Changsheng Hall. Suddenly, the vast palace disappeared right before the three of them, leaving only an empty space. "My lord, does this revered Tree King possess void divine skills?" Ling Zixiao asked Lu Changsheng. "Exactly, its name is Mount Summeru. It has a world within it, nurturing a corner of the universe. We will be able to live directly within this cave heaven from now on," Lu Changsheng said aloud. Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia looked at each other in silence. The shock that Lu Changsheng had given them today was simply too great. Previously, they had thought that the Tree King bound by contract with Lu Changsheng was just an ordinary third-rank demon king. But now that they had seen the Mount Summer Tree King, they realized their thoughts were too simplistic. Also, thinking about it, if Lu Changsheng valued it so greatly, and even used formations to conceal it, how could it be just an ordinary third-rank demon king? Nevertheless, Lu Changsheng had boldly revealed such a Tree King in front of them, making them feel trusted. After the Mount Summer Tree King had taken the Changsheng Hall into the Mount Summer space, it began to root itself at the top of Baiyun Peak. Crystalline and translucent golden roots, as thick as a barrel, burst forth with vibrant vitality and splendid luster, slowly penetrating into the mountain to draw upon the spiritual mechanism of the spirit vein in Baiyun Peak. After a long while, the Mount Summer Tree King had completed rooting. The crystalline radiance flowing on its body gradually retracted, standing on top of Baiyun Peak like a golden towering ancient tree. Mount Summeru. Lu Changsheng, with Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia, approached the Mount Summer Tree King and called out. Swoosh! The next moment, a golden gate of light appeared before them. The three walked into the gate of light, passing through what felt like a layer of water curtain, entering the inner cave heaven of the Mount Summer Tree King. Lu Changsheng surveyed the landscape within the cave heaven. Looking at its size, it was only a few square miles in area, with mountains, rivers, rocks, and trees, but it resembled a wasteland with only a solitary Changsheng Hall. At the heights above the cave heaven and at the ends all around, everything seemed a fuzzy gray, in a state yet to evolve. After all, the Mount Summer Tree King was only third rank. Although a world was self-contained within it, this world was still in the nurturing phase. Only with enough strength could it truly evolve into a small world. There was spiritual energy in the air, but it was very sparse, just slightly better than the secular world, not even comparable to a first-grade spirit vein. It seems some renovation is indeed in order, Lu Changsheng said, stroking his chin as he looked at the situation before him. Although it was habitable now, he thought the conditions were somewhat lacking. In the future, this would be his true core base, which of course had to be properly crafted. "Master, please instruct." The voice of the Mount Sumeru Tree King sounded, gentle and pure, bringing peace to one's mental spirit. It indicated that it could expend energy to make some improvements to this piece of heaven and earth. Growing some grass and trees around the palace wouldn't take too much energy, right? Lu Chongsheng asked the Mount Sumeru Tree King. He knew that whatever the Mount Sumeru Tree King wanted to do in the cave heaven would consume spiritual energy, even origin source. "Yes, Master." The Mount Sumeru Tree King responded. In an instant, golden specks appeared from all sides, suffusing the area around Chongsheng Hall with vitality, as green grass began to grow. "This looks much more pleasing to the eye," Lu Chongsheng commented, nodding his head. Then with a slight movement of his mental spirit, he looked at the spiritual eye spring within his system space. Extract. Chapter 706, Companion Spirit Plant, Divine Wood Great Formation. _1 A water vat the size of a vase, bubbling forth with spring water, emanating pure spiritual energy, appeared before Lu Chongsheng. "This is the spiritual eye spring." Ling Zixiao exclaimed in shock upon seeing the spiritual eye spring before her. Spiritual eye spring. Xiao Xiya's cold and stunningly beautiful face also showed a hint of surprise. Although the spiritual eye spring was not as staggering as a third-rank tree king, it was still a rare treasure, coveted even by nascent soul immortals. After all, possessing a spiritual eye spring was tantamount to having a spirit vein with rich spiritual energy wherever one went. Indeed, it is the spiritual eye spring. The amount of spiritual energy required by Mount Sumeru is significant. If we rely solely on Bai Yun Peak spirit vein for sustenance, it will be far from sufficient. Therefore, placing this spiritual eye within the cave heaven can greatly alleviate the problem of insufficient spiritual energy. Lu Chongsheng explained, looking at the spiritual eye spring before him. This was also his first time seeing what a spiritual eye spring looked like. He could distinctly feel that the water from the spiritual eye spring, like spiritual liquid, was crystal clear and resplendent, diffusing strands of pure spiritual energy throughout the heavens and earth. With this spiritual eye spring here, the issue with the Tree King's spiritual energy is indeed greatly relieved. Ling Zixiao said after a moment of silence. She had discussed the problem of the third-rank Tree King with Lu Chongsheng before. At that time, she was curious about how Lu Chongsheng would resolve it. She had never imagined that Lu Chongsheng's solution would be so straightforward and forceful, placing a spiritual eye spring within the cave heaven. "So this is the taste of the water from the spiritual eye spring, it's my first time tasting it." Ling Zixiao approached the spiritual eye spring, scooped up some water with her hand, and gently tasted it by her lips. She only felt a surge of pure spiritual energy spreading within her body. "Hee hee." Lu Chongsheng chuckled and also scooped up some water to taste. He found the taste mediocre, nothing particularly delicious. But such water, akin to spiritual liquid, transformed into pure spiritual energy as soon as it entered the stomach. "Shiyu, you try some." Lu Chongsheng said with a smile to Xiao Xiya, who was standing aside. Upon hearing this, Xiao Xiya stepped forward to lightly taste the spring water and spoke, "The taste is average, but the spiritual energy is very pure." Indeed, this effect of the spiritual energy would be excellent for wine brewing, Lu Chongsheng commented. Then he called out to the Mount Sumeru Tree King, "Mount Sumeru. Master, please command me." The voice of the Mount Sumeru Tree King echoed throughout the cave heaven. Ling Zixiao and Xiao Xiya, hearing this voice as melodious as the sound of nature and seeing Mount Sumeru's respectful demeanor towards Lu Chongsheng, exchanged glances with each other, somewhat at a loss for words. If they hadn't known that this voice came from a third-rank Tree King, they would have thought it was a little maidservant raised by Lu Chongsheng. "Dig a small pit here for me, I shall plant the spiritual eye spring," Lu Chongsheng instructed aloud. The spiritual eye spring could merge with the earth's veins, transforming into a true spiritual eye to nourish the abode. If one wishes to take it away, one simply needs to dig up the spiritual eye again. "Yes, Master, the Mount Sumeru Tree King replied. Instantly, a small pit appeared in front of Changsheng Hall. Lu Changsheng placed the spiritual eye spring into it. Soon, the spiritual eye spring slowly expanded, merging with the small pit, transforming into a small pond a zhang in size, continuously emitting thick and pure spiritual energy. In order to turn this place into a secret abode for daily cultivation, a single spiritual eye spring is not enough. We still need to acquire several more items related to the spiritual eye to create a spiritual vein here and elevate the spirit vein at Baiyun Peak. Lu Changsheng assessed the situation, stroked his chin, and thought to himself. He then inquired about Ling Zixiao and Xiao Xia's ideas and suggestions for constructing and modifying this place. Changsheng, you could treat this place as a miniature cave heaven for development, such as cultivating spirit fields, medicinal gardens, and raising spiritual beasts here. Xiao Xia expressed some interest as she looked at the scene before her. In her view, this was Lu Changsheng's new home, and naturally, she wanted to contribute some ideas for its design. For now, the spiritual energy from Baiyun Peak and the spiritual eye spring is just enough to supply the cultivation needs of the few of us and Mount Sumeru. If we were to cultivate spirit fields and medicinal gardens, we could have at most first-grade soil, Lu Changsheng said. He also felt that this place was a perfect base for himself. He could confidently and freely use many core items in this world, such as the golden armor bean mother, Blackwater dragon spirit weapon. Moreover, it's very convenient to farm and fish in the cave heaven. With the Mount Sumeru Tree King as the lord of this world, as long as the power and nature's spiritual energy were sufficient, it could directly evolve second-grade soil and second-grade fishing grounds. There was no need to cultivate the spirit field slowly as with other spirit vein lands, nurturing and sorting the earth's veins. Changsheng, if you need spiritual origin pearls, the Qingyun sect should be able to exchange them. I will complete a few more tasks on my return, and the contribution should be enough to exchange for a spiritual origin pearl, Xiao Xia said softly. She had noticed that Bai Lake Mountain was currently under some strain regarding spiritual energy. No worries, for now we're managing. When we truly need them, I'll let you know, Shiyu. Lu Changsheng felt warmed inside and held Xiao Xia's delicate hand, speaking affectionately. Xiao Xia had already been delayed in her cultivation due to her pregnancy and the years spent accompanying Lu Wangshu. He had no intention of troubling her to undertake missions for the sake of a spiritual origin pearl, wasting her time. My lord, I wonder, aside from ruling over this cave heaven, what other divine skills does the esteemed Mount Sumeru possess? Earlier, you said that Mount Sumeru was also going to be stationed at Bai Lake Mountain, didn't you? Ling Zixiao, observing the state of the cave heaven, pondered before asking Lu Changsheng. Abilities? Lu Changsheng, hearing this, called out to the Mount Sumeru Tree King, Mount Sumeru. Master, the pure and ethereal voice of Mount Sumeru echoed through the heavens and the earth, beginning to introduce itself. It expressed that its innate talent was nurturing an entire world within its body, becoming its own cave heaven, ever creating and unceasing. Chapter 707, Chapter 707, it grew by evolving its own body domain and, through that body domain, nourished itself in turn to accelerate its growth. Apart from this body domain, it also possessed a divine skill, the Mount Sumeru Mandala Barrier. Once the barrier was activated, it could seal and suppress enemies. If it took action in the outside world, its combat power was at the early stage of the third rank, with an attack range that could cover almost the entirety of Bai Lake Mountain. However, the greater the distance, the greater the consumption for it, and the lesser the power. If within this domain, it would be invincible at the third rank. Even those at the peak of core formation could be sealed and suppressed. Beyond these two innate divine skills, it had another ability. It could cleanse a person's heart, bringing tranquility to their mental spirit, somewhat suppressing the effects of heart demons. This ability also extended to its entire being. For example, cultivating next to the Mount Sumeru Tree King or carrying one of its branches could partially aid in focusing the mind and calming the spirit. Mount Sumeru, can your branches and sprouts be planted and grown? Lu Changsheng's heart thumped at the mention of branches and sprouts, and he asked out loud. He knew that some tree branches, when freshly broken and still full of vitality, could be cultivated and revived by a spiritual plant master. If the branches of the Mount Summer Tree King could be planted and nurtured back to life, then he wouldn't have to worry about his wives and children's future cultivation of the heaven and earth longevity technique. Master, unless a great amount of origin source vitality is consumed, ordinary branches and sprouts cannot rejuvenate. The Mount Summer Tree King spoke thus. It indicated that it could enable the branches to be planted and grown, but it would require a significant consumption of its live's origin source for nurturing. This branch had already become an accompanying spirit plant, a part of its life. Consume origin source vitality, accompanying spirit plant. Lu Changsheng nodded upon hearing this. He knew that the Mount Summer Tree King was capable of doing it, but the cost was too great. He did not ask further. He planned to wait until the Mount Summer Tree King situation improved before considering whether to let it nurture an accompanying spirit plant. Zi Xiao, what were you about to say just now? At this moment, Lu Changsheng looked at Ling Zixiao and inquired. My lord, upon seeing the venerable Mount Summeru, I thought of a great formation. Ling Zixiao's eyes, deep as autumn waters, were bright and full of spirit as she spoke. A great formation? Lu Changsheng raised an eyebrow. Xiao Siya also looked curiously at Ling Zixiao. Through their time together, she knew Ling Zixiao to be an array master. Her understanding of formations was extremely profound, almost on par with Mo Shorin, the master they had invited before. Yes. Ling Zixiao wore a light smile, her voice crisp as she said, I have a second-tier top-level formation called the Divine Wood Great Formation. It is laid out using living spirit plants, spiritual trees, and demon plants as the foundation and focal points of the formation. Seeing the venerable Mount Summeru gave me an idea, to use it as the core and the Mount Summeru Cave Heaven as the main with the formation as support, creating a taboo formation comparable to a third rank. A third rank great formation requires a third rank spirit vein to maintain operation, but with the venerable Mount Summeru present, there's no need for the support of a third rank spirit vein. Once the formation is complete, should danger arise, there's no need for the venerable Mount Summeru to act, as we could directly activate the formation and pull the enemy into its cave heaven. Once they enter the cave heaven, the venerable Mount Summeru can directly suppress the enemies without causing any disturbance externally. Ling Zixiao spoke with a bright gaze and vibrant spirit. She was aware that once the Mount Summer Tree King took action, it could potentially make a significant commotion. If it was turned into a formation, not only would there be an additional level of concealment, but the level of By Lake Mountain's great formation would also rise another notch. Moreover, as an array master, she wanted to realize her own ideas and formations. Like the Divine Wood Great Formation, she had only ever laid out a weakened version of the second-rank lower tier. She had never set up a second-tier top-level Divine Wood Great Formation. Now, upon seeing the Mount Summer Tree King, she aspired to use such a distinguished third-rank Tree King as the core focus of the Divine Wood Great Formation, and her heart was filled with immense expectation and desire to attempt it. The Divine Wood Great Formation, a third-rank taboo formation. Lu Changsheng's eyebrows raised upon hearing this. He knew the difference between second-rank formations and third-rank was like heaven and earth. A third-rank great formation, known as a taboo formation, was self-contained, without weaknesses or flaws, and not comparable to any second-rank formation. Unexpectedly, Ling Zixiao claimed she could lay out a formation comparable to a third-rank taboo formation. Zi Xiao, is this Divine Wood Great Formation troublesome, and will setting it up affect Mount Summeru? Lu Changsheng inquired of Ling Zixiao. Extremely troublesome. First, Mount Summeru must be the core when laying out the Divine Wood Great Formation. Then, through nested formations, overlaying method, it must be connected with the Bai Shui Qing Tian Great Formation of Bai Lake Mountain. If the Great Formation is inactive on normal days, it will continue to appear to others as the current Bai Shui Qing Tian Great Formation. Once the Divine Wood Great Formation is activated, it will transform into the near third-rank Divine Wood Great Formation and catch people off guard. However, the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation and the Oceanic Grand Formation of Bai Shui Lake are currently overlaid and still not perfected. If we now attempt to connect with the Divine Wood Great Formation, some problems will arise during the process, so I am not 100% sure of success. But this Divine Wood Great Formation will not affect the Venerable Mount Sumeru. If there is any impact during the process, we can stop at any time. Ling Zixiao said excitedly, her bright beautiful eyes sparkling with expectation of the challenge. Being able to reach this stage on the formation path, aside from her exceptional talent, arose from her constant pursuit of breakthroughs and self-challenges. On normal days, showing the Bai Shui Tian Qing Great Formation to others, and once the Divine Wood Great Formation is activated, it becomes a third-rank Great Formation. Lu Chongqing pondered for a moment before calling out to the Mount Sumeru Tree King, Mount Sumeru. Mount Sumeru will follow Master's arrangements. The voice of Mount Sumeru was still so ethereal and pure, bringing tranquility to one's spirit. Chapter 708, Chapter 708, Good, since that's the case, well do as you suggest, Zi Shao. However, your body has not yet recovered, so don't push yourself. The formation can wait, there's no need to rush. If the setup process involves anything related to Mount Sumeru, you can communicate directly with it. Lu Chongqing spoke to Ling Zixiao. He knew that setting up a great formation was extremely draining on one's mental spirit and energy. Ling Zixiao had just finished setting up the inverted 5 elements formation. Now she was about to set up an even more complex and troublesome Divine Wood Great Formation, which made him worry about her health. However, from the desire he saw in her beautiful eyes, he didn't want to disappoint her. "Thank you, my lord. I will take care of myself," said Ling Zixiao, her elegant face breaking into a charming smile. "Shiyu, Zi Shao, now that we have Mount Sumeru supporting us, I leave the family affairs in your hands. I will be heading to Red Leaf Valley Market to oversee things for a while to prevent any danger to Jianghu Mountain or the Red Leaf Valley Market," Lu Chongqing said. Although the specifics of the robber cultivators incident were still unclear, he planned to stay at the Red Leaf Valley Market for a while in case anything unexpected occurred. "My lord, rest assured." "All right, Chongqing, don't worry." The two women responded upon hearing this. Then, Lu Chongqing mentioned his trip to the Red Leaf Valley Market to Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaohuan, and Chu Zhenjin. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaohuan expressed a desire to visit Jianghu Mountain and take a stroll through the Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Chongqing did not object and agreed to take her along the next day. After all, the Red Leaf Valley Market was not far from Bai Shui Lake, and he needed to return periodically to treat Ling Zixiao's condition, especially now that she was setting up a great formation and he needed to pay even closer attention to her health. That night, Lu Chongqing treated Ling Zixiao throughout the night, and the next day he took Lu Miaohuan to the Red Leaf Valley Market. Due to the robber cultivators incident, the Red Leaf Valley Market had seen a slight decline in foot traffic. However, the market had been struggling for the last decade. 10 years ago, a hard-won auction held by the 4 major families boosted name recognition and traffic, but a subsequent robbery by cultivators wiped out all those efforts. And over the past decade, incidents involving the Demon Path and the family's internal struggles meant the market's reputation suffered, and few loose cultivators visited. After all, when loose cultivators look for a marketplace to settle down, they generally prefer well-established and stable ones. Despite offering many favorable policies to loose cultivators, the Red Leaf Valley Market still lacked competitiveness. Now with some time to spare, upon arriving at the Red Leaf Valley Market, Lu Chongqing took Lu Miaohuan to inspect the family's properties and review the situation. The talisman shops and the fishing stores were currently doing well. The puppet shop had opened a month ago but had little business so far. Lu Chongqing knew that such things required time to gain a reputation, so more customers would come as the name and quality became recognized. After all, the Red Leaf Valley Market was only so big, and most loose cultivators belong to the lower levels of the cultivation world, so asking them to spend 200 spirit stones on a puppet was somewhat difficult. After staying in the Red Leaf Valley for 10 days, Lu Chongsheng took Lu Miaohuan back to Jianghu Mountain and then returned to Bai Shui Lake to treat Ling Zixiao. Ling Zixiao also presented Lu Chongsheng with a formation diagram to look over. She said she had reorganized and adjusted the formation setup of Bai Shui Lake during this time. The oceanic bead formation set with 36 oceanic beads in Bai Shui Lake was no longer linked to the heavenly azure of Bai Shui formation. As an auxiliary formation on its own, it nurtures the spirit vein fishes and shrimp in the lake, promoting the rapid advancement of the lake's spirit vein to the second rank. Using the principle that water nourishes wood, the spiritual vein of Bai Shui Lake was connected to the Mount Sumera Tree King. Once the great formation was established, it could harness the spiritual energy of the spiritual vein of Bai Shui Lake to nurture the Mount Sumera Tree King. What's more, the hazy mist over the waters could further conceal the condition of the Mount Sumera Tree King. As for the Bai Shui Tianqing Great Formation and the Divine Wood Great Formation, those remain unchanged. Under normal circumstances, the Great Formation will still be the Bai Shui Tianqing Great Formation, with the inner core being the Divine Wood Great Formation, both of which can be switched via the Mount Sumera Tree King. This is something you can handle yourself, Lu Chongsheng said with a smile. He did not understand formations, but he believed in Ling Zixiao. Besides, if there were any issues with the Divine Wood Great Formation, the Mount Sumera Tree King would detect and sense them. After treating Ling Zixiao, Lu Chongsheng spent some time with his wives and children, then returned to Jianghu Mountain to preside over the Red Leaf Valley market. Thinking back to when the elder ancestor of the Su family had asked him to craft a mystical frost talisman for Su Ruyan, Lu Chongsheng thought it had been almost 3 months. He immediately drew 2 mystical frost talismans and had the people from Zheng family at Red Leaf Valley Market notify Su Ringguang. Meanwhile, 9 Dragons Market. In a small courtyard. Big brother, all 4 families have kept their doors closed, and even when they go out, they cover their tracks. I think there's no need to delay any longer. We should take care of them soon and avenge our 5th brother. A middle-aged man with a fair face and a soft, sinister look said. Indeed, the 4 families combined have only 5 individuals at Foundation establishment, and they're all just straw-bag cultivators at the early stage of Foundation establishment. Aside from Lu Chongsheng, who possesses a legacy of talisman formations, the others are not worth mentioning, a bald man with a rough face and a scar on his head said with a vicious laugh. Second brother, I've investigated, and although Wugong Ridge Zheng family doesn't have a Foundation establishment cultivator, they have invited a mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator from Yushui Su family to guard the place. Tao Xiaolan, who was dressed in a peach-colored gown, spoke up. Just a mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator, moreover, this Su family cultivator may not even wish to get involved in this mess, the bald man scoffed, clearly undervaluing the mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. Indeed, there's nothing worth dithering over. I see our 5th brother is also getting impatient these days. Has there been any movement from Qingyun's sect during this time? The red-robed big man sitting at the head of the table asked nonchalantly. Qingyun's sect has no time to worry about such matters. The beast tide has just ended, they must be busy, the fair-faced, dark-browed middle-aged man snorted with disdain. Well then, let's make it 5 days from now. It's a good day for killing, the red-robed man said with a sneer upon hearing this. Thank you, big brother. Fang Ye's eyes lit up with joy as he got up and bowed his thanks. After returning to Qingyun region, the seed of hatred in his heart had quickly sprouted, anxiously wanting to exact revenge. Throughout these days, this seed of hatred had grown into a towering tree, causing images of his parents' tragic deaths to frequently flash across his mind. He knew that for these 10 years, hatred had been the driving force propelling him forward, becoming his obsession, his heart demon. He must use this hatred to unravel the obsessions in his heart. In that case, 5 days from now, I will join our 5th brother in warming them up. once people from all 4 families gather, big brother and second brother can make their move, allowing our 5th brother to take his revenge joyfully. The slender and shadowy figure in a black robe cackled with laughter. Chapter 709, Ancient Relic Site, Robber Cultivator Causes Chaos. _1 Red Leaf Valley Marketplace. The Liu family's spiritual talisman shop at by Lake Mountain. Daoist Su, I must apologize. During this time, I have only managed to draw 2 mystical frost talismans. Liu Changsheng looked at the Su Rengguang before him and bowed slightly, his voice tinged with a hint of embarrassment. 2. Su Rengguang's eyes brightened at these words, his face revealing a delighted surprise. After all, in his opinion, the fact that Liu Changsheng could draw a mystical frost talisman was already a surprise. He hadn't expected Liu Changsheng to actually draw 2. This gave him a clear recognition of Liu Changsheng's talisman-making skill and innate talent for the talisman path. He took out a gift box from his storage bag and said politely, "Thank you for the trouble, Liu Daoist. My Su family owes you a favor." Even though second-rank talismans could still be bought on the market, it was very difficult to purchase niche superior second-rank spirit talismans like the mystical frost talisman. Since the other party was willing to help with talisman making, he naturally wanted to show his appreciation properly. Daoist Su is too polite. I just happen to have a favor to ask of you. Does your noble family breed any aquatic demon beasts with dragon blood in them? Liu Changsheng received the gift box and spoke with a smile. He was willing to help the other party draw talismans because of the face of the beast-taming Su family. He was thinking of getting some high-quality aquatic dragon-blooded demon beasts through Su Rengguang to refine the Blackwater dragon spirit weapon. Although during this time, he had already learned of several aquatic demon beasts capable of being refined into the Blackwater dragon spirit weapon, the quality of these beasts was somewhat lacking. To refine them into spirit weapons and nurture them would consume more time and resources. If he could obtain high-grade, dragon blood-rich aquatic demon beasts and refine them into Blackwater Jiao dragon spirit weapons, then the nurturing process would be much simpler. Liu Changsheng was even looking forward to directly drawing a flood dragon through the system lottery. If so, he could refine it into a Blackwater dragon spirit weapon and use this as a leader to cultivate other Dao soldiers. Since like attracts like, the bath water and even a splash of urine from this flood dragon spirit weapon would benefit the other Dao soldiers and aquatic demon beasts. Aquatic demon beasts containing dragon blood. After hearing this, Su Rengguang fell into deep thought and said, "May I ask what the Mountain Lord needs them for, and how many do you require?" The scarlet blood carps and azure blood carps of my by Lake Mountain contain some dragon blood, do they not? I have obtained a breeding heritage and wish to improve the environment through aquatic dragon-blooded demon beasts to promote the growth of these 2 types of carps. Therefore, as for those beasts, the more, the merrier, and the stronger, the better, Liu Changsheng explained nonchalantly. Improve the ecology. Su Rengguang nodded slightly at these words, without asking any further, and then spoke, Mountain Lord should also know that such beasts are difficult to nurture. As of now, my Su family has green-horned fish with mid-grade inferior bloodlines and ink jade serpents with mid-grade superior bloodlines. Both are aquatic demon beasts with a trace of dragon blood. For instance, when nurtured to second rank, green-horned fish become green-horned dragon fish, ink jade serpents become ink jade flood serpents. If the Mountain Lord is in need, my Su family can sell 10 of each, green-horned fish and ink jade serpents, Su Rengguang said. In the cultivation world, no one liked to owe favors. Therefore, he was also willing to sell a few beasts to Liu Changsheng to clear the debt of the talisman favor. Only mid-grade inferior and superior. Upon hearing this, Liu Changsheng felt somewhat disappointed. But a mid-grade bloodline beast was still acceptable. He bowed and responded, "If that's the case, I thank Daoist Su. As for the price of these 2 types of beasts, just sell them to me at the normal rate. Of course, the stronger they are, the better." Liu Changsheng's face showed a smile as he spoke. In terms of price, it will be calculated based on the strength of the demon beasts. For example, a first-grade initial phase green-horned fish normally costs 150 spirit stones, a mid-phase one, 420, and a late phase one, 1500. If that's what the Mountain Lord needs, how about all prices at a 60% discount? Su Renguang offered, full of sincerity. In that case, thank you very much, Daoist Su, Lu Chongqing said with a bow and a smile. He purchased 10 green-horned fish and 10 ink jade serpents from Su Renguang. They included 1 late phase first grade, 2 mid-phase first grade, and 7 initial phase first grade. As for second-rank demon beasts, the Su family would not sell them to the public. Or rather, the Yushui Su family did not even have many second-rank demon beasts to sell. The spirit stones can wait until after everything is settled. I will arrange for them when I return to the family, Su Renguang said aloud. Alright, I'll trouble Daoist Su with that, Lu Chongqing replied with a smile. Su Renguang then bade farewell and left. Green-horned fish, ink jade serpent. Lu Chongqing murmured to himself, feeling somewhat expectant of the effects these two beasts would have when refined into Dao soldiers. Moreover, buying these beasts at a 60% discount meant that even if the results weren't ideal, he wouldn't stand to lose much. That night, the heavens were as dark as ink. Red Leaf Valley Marketplace was silent. At this time, in a small courtyard with bright lights, 5 men and 1 woman looked out at the night sky, chatting casually in the main hall. Hee, our 5th brother is getting impatient, said the man in the red robe sitting at the head seat, noticing the restless and occasionally fierce-looking Fang Yu, and then he addressed the others, since that's the case, 3rd brother, 4th brother, Shaolan, you all go with the 5th brother. Yes, big brother. The few of them nodded in response. 5th brother, I'll take care of the great formation of the Red Leaf Valley Market, you can do as you please with the others, the middle-aged man with a gentle jade-like complexion and a sinister expression offered. Kek, 5th brother, however you want to do it tonight, your 4th brother will follow, the thin, gloomy-looking elder laughed eerily. Chapter 710, Ancient Relic Site, Robber Cultivator Causes Chaos. Brother Yu, Tao Xiaolan, standing beside Fang Yu, said this as she held his hand. Okay, thank you for the trouble, brothers. Fang Yu held his partner's hand, looked towards the old man and the man in red robes among others, took a deep breath, and nodded vigorously. His eyes were then dark as ink, and his brows filled with ferocity. His ability to become brothers with those 4 men was a testament to his extraordinary strength, having once gained a great opportunity. Little 5th is too polite, I, as 3rd brother, will head over first. Once the great formation is activated, you can make your move. The middle-aged man with a jade-like complexion and gentle brows patted Fang Yu on the shoulder. Then, with a folding fan in hand, he flew towards the gate of the Red Leaf Valley Market. 4th brother, Xiaolan, let's start from gathering immortals in. Fang Yu said in a cold voice. 10 years ago, it was from gathering immortals in that he and his parents had begun to plunder the marketplace. Now, he was about to face the events of 10 years prior and relive those moments. However, the difference was, back then, both his parents had lost their lives in the Red Leaf Valley Market. But tonight, he intended to massacre the Red Leaf Valley Market and destroy the 4 great families. After saying this, Fang Yu, Tao Xiaolan, and the old man left. I hope after we've avenged this lad, he'll be willing to bring out the map and the token for the ancient relic site in the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Looking at the departing Fang Yu and others, a burly man with a scarred head drank deeply from a jug. This shouldn't be a problem, Xiao Tao said. Fang Yes loyalty is almost secured. As long as the great revenge is settled, with the bond of brotherhood, he won't forget us few when he explores the ancient relic site. And given the danger of exploring that site alone with his strength, he would certainly require assistance. The man in red robes also took large swigs from his jug. Traveling all across the land, pillaging and plundering, they naturally weren't bound by brotherly affection but rather by shared interests. After all, how much is brotherly love worth? The reason they had traveled far, from Myriad Beasts Mountain Range and Azure Phoenix Immortal City to the Qingyun region, was to avenge their little brother but with an ulterior motive. The moon was hazy, and all was silent. Boom! Suddenly, a thunderous and earth-shattering noise erupted in the Red Leaf Valley Market. Under the night sky, the second-rank great formation of the marketplace, Heavenly Cloud and Water Formation, was enveloped in spiritual light, alternately bright and dark, as clouds and mist rolled turbulently. 7 deadly wolf-smoke gourds. Standing in front of Gathering Immortals Inn, Fang Yu saw the scene unfold and spoke fiercely. A dark green gourd appeared in his hand, with dark light flowing over it. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh! A terrifying black mist erupted from the gourd like wolf smoke, rising into the sky and forming 7 black columns of smoke that seemed to pierce through heaven and earth. Kill! Fang Yu, looking at Gathering Immortals Inn, formed hand seals. Immediately, the 7 columns of wolf smoke merged into a massive and terrifying human face that devoured the inn. Not good, it's an enemy attack, enemy attack. Quickly inform the ancestor. How dare these bandit cultivators cause chaos in our Red Leaf Valley market? The patrolling cultivators in the market saw this and immediately yelled, pulling the alarm and activating the market's great formation. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh! The previously indifferent clouds covering the market started to gather quickly, becoming dense along with the flowing spiritual light, forming a cyan jade bowl. However, at that moment, horrifying forces bombarded the cyan jade bowl, causing the glazed surface to shatter like porcelain with dense web-like cracks. At the same time, inside a simple and elegant cave dwelling, Lu Chongsheng, Lu Miaoge, and Lu Miaohuan, who had just fallen asleep, woke up. Is someone attacking the market's great formation? Lu Miaoge held a token and an array plate in her hands. The light on them fluctuated, pulsing with spiritual light. She immediately manipulated the array plate, powering the Red Leaf Valley market's great formation with all its might. Then she put on the snow-white gauze skirt, stockings, undergarments, and a chest piece embroidered with clouds and water, while her black hair was simply gathered and draped over her fragrant shoulders. Now that she was in charge of the Red Leaf Valley market, she naturally had to deal with such matters immediately. Could it be the robber cultivator who brought the bell before? Lu Chongsheng furrowed his brows and said aloud. He did not hesitate or delay, he immediately got up, dressed, and said to Lu Miaohuan, Huan, you stay inside the cave and do not go out. Sister Miaoge and I will go take a look. Okay, Lu Chongsheng, sister, be careful. Lu Miaohuan replied with a light pursing of her lips. She knew that with her 7th level energy refinement cultivation level, she wouldn't be of much help if she went out now. It was in times like these that she felt the lack of her own strength. Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge left the cave abode. Boom boom boom, dash! They immediately saw countless rays of spiritual light bombarding the heavenly cloud and water formation above the Red Leaf Valley market. This caused the entire great formation to surge with spiritual light, which flickered on and off in the night sky, accompanied by muffled thunderous sounds, eerie and astonishing. Over in the commercial district, a gigantic and ferocious black face was howling and roaring. The scene before him made Lu Chongsheng feel a sense of déjà vu. It looks like it is most likely that robber cultivator who sent the bell before. Seeing this, Lu Chongsheng said with a cold expression. Without saying more, he and Lu Miaoge turned into beams of escape light and flew towards the commotion. Back 10 years ago, the indiscriminate looting by a robber cultivator caused the Red Leaf Valley market to be greatly weakened, and it still hadn't fully recovered. Furthermore, afterwards, the 4 big families had to make quite a lot of compensation to the many merchants and powers that had settled in. Seeing this kind of trouble now, they naturally had to suppress and resolve it immediately. Otherwise, if things got out of hand, the Red Leaf Valley market might truly be ruined, and they could only rely on it as a spiritual land to make money. What's going on? Is someone attacking the market's great formation? Damn it, I knew I shouldn't have come to the Red Leaf Valley market for some small benefits. It's over, it's over. With only the Lu family ancestor, Lu Miaoge, presiding over Jianghu mountain section of the market, and she has only just broken through to foundation establishment, now with the robber cultivators causing trouble, they must be well prepared. This Red Leaf Valley market has barely been open for more than 10 years and already so many problems have arisen. Indeed, one cannot rely on a small market. I wonder if the Lord of By Lake Mountain, who suppressed 3 foundation establishment cultivators by himself, will come. With the disturbance in the Great Formation and the commercial district, many cultivators awoke from their sleep or meditation, looking at the situation beneath the night sky with panic on their faces. After all, relative to others, the Red Leaf Valley market was just a small market, and most of the loose cultivators that came here were lower ranked. At the same time, some cultivators looked at the situation with greed, ferocity, and hesitance in their eyes. Swoosh! Swoosh! 2 beams of escape light arrived above the commercial district. Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge immediately saw a thin old man, a black-robed young man, and a woman in a pink skirt wrecking the shops of the market and slaughtering the cultivators in the inns. Foundation Establishment 5th level, Foundation Establishment 2nd level, 9th level energy refinement. Lu Changsheng's divine sense was comparable to the peak of Foundation Establishment, and he saw the cultivation levels of the 3 people at a glance. Seeing their cultivation strength, his brows slightly furrowed, puzzled where these 3 got the courage to cause trouble. And they even dared to carry out such a brainless act as sending the bell. But looking up at the flickering Great Formation above, he knew there were Foundation Establishment cultivators hidden in the shadows. He immediately said to Lu Miaoge, Sister Miaoge, that black-robed young man is of 2nd level Foundation Establishment, you handle him. Leave that old man to me. 2 Foundation Establishments? Fang Yu and his companions were surprised and puzzled upon seeing Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge arrive. After all, according to the information he had, there was only 1 Foundation Establishment cultivator, Lu Miaoge, presiding over the Red Leaf Valley market. But with the backing of his elder brothers, he wasn't afraid at all, and as malevolence surged between his brows, his hands formed a seal and he shouted, 7 evils wolf smoke, strike. The terrifying black smoke face in the air that was destroying buildings emitted a ghostly, wolf-like screech, charging at Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge. River of Qi, break! In Lu Miaoge's hands appeared a blue crossbow, with water-like ripples flowing through it. Channeling mana, she fired, swoosh, 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 towards the ferocious wolf smoke in the air. Strike! Lu Chongsheng also did not hesitate, summoning a low-grade spiritual sword. The spiritual sword let out a clear ring, releasing a sharp sword rainbow that sliced through the air, heading straight towards the thin old man. Chapter 711, with Lu Mountain Lord here, tonight will be settled. _1 Lu Miaoge's river arrow crossbow flashed wildly in her hand, surging with azure brilliance, piercing and scattering the black smoky faces in the night sky. But the black smoke was extremely dense. As soon as it dispersed, it reconverged and continued to attack Lu Miaoge. Ice Seal Talisman. Seeing this scene, Lu Miaoge's expression tightened, knowing the river arrow crossbow alone couldn't defeat the opponent. She took out a 2nd rank Ice Seal Talisman, and immediately, a chill engulfed the area, sweeping towards the black smoky face in an attempt to freeze it solid. Facing the Ice Seal Talisman, the black smoky face developed patches of frost, appearing sluggish and stiff. Water Dragon Technique, True Water into Dragon. Seeing this, Lu Miaoge immediately formed hand seals and cast an advanced level spell from the Water of Virtue technique. Mana from within her body and the surrounding spiritual energy converged and flowed, causing a mist of water to swirl above her head, gradually forming into a lifelike, vivid miniature water dragon. Xiaolan, move back. On the other side, the gaunt old man faced the flying sword sent by Lu Chongsheng, his voice hoarse and piercing. Amid his words, 2 black chains shot out from the sleeves with the liveliness of black snakes hissing with their tongues. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two black chains, like giant pythons, intertwined around the flying sword, attempting to strangle it. Clang! The black chains collided with the flying sword, emitting a sound of metal striking metal. Immediately after, the chains wrapped tightly around the flying sword like dark spirit snakes, producing a sharp and grating crack noise. Somewhat capable. Lu Chongsheng chuckled lightly, recognizing that the gaunt old man was no slouch. He slapped his spiritual beast pouch and released his six-winged golden silkworm. Now that the six-winged golden silkworm had advanced to the second rank, he wanted to see the specific combat power of this spiritual insect. After all, if he could resolve the battle this easily, he would expose too much of his own strength, especially the various techniques of a sword cultivator. Back when he made his move in the Red Leaf Valley Market, he used the techniques of the 7 luminary sword scripture to kill 2 robber cultivators. If he were to use the shimmering shadow condensation sword techniques now, he would undoubtedly be recognized as the sword cultivator from back then, which would cause trouble. Whoosh! No sooner had the 6-winged golden silkworm appeared than its wings flapped, turning into a bloodthirsty, brilliant golden light that fiercely shot toward the gaunt old man. What is this? Facing the golden light, the gaunt old man's eyes narrowed slightly, a sense of foreboding rising in his heart. He did not dare to be careless and quickly formed a spell to raise a dark green shield. From the dark green shield, a green light barrier emerged, enveloping both the gaunt old man and Tao Xiaolan. Bang! A loud collision sounded. The 6-winged golden silkworm rammed directly into the dark green shield, causing a slight dent in it. Hiss, such a hard body, what kind of spiritual insect is this? Seeing this scene, the gaunt old man looked at the 6-winged golden silkworm and his eyelids twitched again. He immediately formed seals with his hands and sent a chain slashing towards the 6-winged golden silkworm. After this collision, the 6-winged golden silkworm was clearly angered. It utterly ignored the black chains and continued to surge with radiant golden light, swelling to the size of a small cauldron, and continued to slam fiercely against the dark green shield. Indeed, slay! Lu Chongsheng witnessed the scene, nodded slightly, and then brought his fingers together, pointing at his spiritual artifact. Humming, the spiritual sword entangled by the black chains immediately began to tremble violently, releasing sharp sword chi that tore through the air and charged towards the emaciated elder. This is bad. Seeing this, the emaciated elder conjured a white long banner in his hands and formed hand seals, from which trails of white mist emerged, transforming into walls of white fog. At the same time, the little water dragon above Lu Maiage's head took shape. One could see the water dragon rapidly growing to the naked eye, turning into a majestic water dragon with prominent horns and glistening blue scales, emanating holy and dignified aura. Water Dragon's Chant. Lu Miaoge formed hand seals, her aura as gentle as water. Roar! In an instant, the water dragon roared towards the heavens, unleashing a majestic and vast surge of chi, emitting a long and profound dragon chant. The dragon chant, composed of what seemed like thousands of notes, rolled forward like a torrent, forming hurricanes that swept towards the black smoke creature's face. Puff, 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 the black smoke face, formed by the 7 Sha wolfsbane smoke, was continuously sliced, torn, and dispersed by the dragon chant hurricanes, scattering into disarray. How is this possible? Fang Yu was astonished by this spectacle. It was known that his 7 Sha wolfsbane gourd was an exceedingly formidable spiritual artifact. When he had just made breakthrough in Foundation establishment, he relied on this gourd to escape from the hands of a middle-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. Yet now, Lu Miaoge managed to break through his 7 Sha wolfsbane smoke with a single spell. 7 Sha wolfsbane, echo of the celestial wolf. Fang Ye's eyes glinted fiercely as he formed hand seals, mana surging as he tried to recondense the dispersed wolfsbane smoke, attempting to transform it into a 7 Sha celestial wolf. Water Dragon Technique. Shatter. Lu Miaoge formed hand seals, causing the water dragon in the sky to roar and lunge with bared fangs and claws, directly tearing the condensing black smoke to shreds. The water dragon's body was glistening, and waves of deep blue water chi undulated, evaporating and refining much of the black wolf smoke. Howl, 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 as the wolf smoke was being refined and evaporated by the water dragon, echoes of ghostly cries and wolf howls arose. Well done. Lu Chongqing revealed a smile on his face upon seeing this. Although he had a general idea of Lu Maiage's strength, he was not truly clear about her combat prowess. Through the water dragon technique she displayed, he gained a clearer understanding. 7 luminary sword chi, kill. He continued watching his own opponent, the emaciated elder. Inside his dantian, the 7 luminaries' heart lamp flickered as countless strands of sword chi burst forth from his palm, turning into fine and sharp threads of sword chi heading towards the emaciated elder. Faced with such a ferocious onslaught, the emaciated elder had no choice but to defend with the dark green little shield and the white long banner. Chapter 7:12, with Lu Mountain Lord here, tonight will be settled. Damn it! Didn't she just have her breakthrough in foundation establishment recently? And how could a minor family's foundation establishment have such strength? Fang Ye's face turned dark and ugly. He didn't expect that not only was his 7-kill wolf smoke broken, but this spiritual artifact was about to be destroyed here as well. Looking to the side, he noticed that his 4th brother was being suppressed by Lu Chongqing, only managing to continuously defend himself, causing Fang Ye's face to grow even uglier. He had come here with a condescending attitude, intending to seek retribution as if it were a game. But now that retribution had just started, they were the ones being suppressed, filling him with suffocating anger. He felt like a jumping clown. Xiaolan, send a message to big brother and second brother. Fang Yu transmitted his voice to Tao Xiaolan. Though he was frustrated and angry, he knew that in this situation, one could not afford to be prideful to death. Even though he still had a trump card, the current Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoge were clearly not simple and likely had other means at their disposal. Yes, brother Yu. Tao Xiaolan had long noticed that their side was at a disadvantage and wanted to send a message for help. But considering her partner's feelings and the instructions from the big brother before, she didn't immediately send the message. Is this calling for reinforcements? Lu Chongqing, with his keen divine sense, noticed Fang Yu passing a message to Tao Xiaolan. Though he couldn't hear the content of their transmission, seeing Tao Xiaolan take out a communication talisman, he roughly guessed that the other party was calling for people. Sister Miaoge, let's make this quick. Lu Chongqing then transmitted a message to Lu Miaoge. All right. Lu Miaoge, upon hearing this, didn't hesitate and formed seals with her hands, saying, Water Dragon Technique. Sword chi like water. In an instant, a water dragon roared, bursting forth with piercing sword chi, aiming straight for Fang Yu. Her Water of Virtue technique, enhanced by Lu Changsheng's Tai Dao seed, also gained a technique that allowed water to transform into sword chi. Then she slapped her storage bag and took out a second-rank supreme talisman given to her by Lu Chongqing. It's a pity I used the 7 luminaries heart lamp and True Yang 5-element sword in the middle of the marketplace at Red Leaf Valley, making it inconvenient to use now, otherwise, I wouldn't need to waste talismans. Lu Chongqing sighed as he looked at the gaunt old man. Then he took out 3 second-rank talismans and struck the gaunt old man with them. Meanwhile, in a small courtyard, a man in a red robe and a bald man watched the battlefield situation. These two are not simple at all. Not only is Lu Changsheng's strength astonishing, he also has a second-rank spiritual pet. The inheritance he acquired is definitely not just about the talisman path. That lasts too. Fang Yu, wielding the 7-kill wolf smoke gourd, could match a foundation establishment middle-stage cultivator, but now he can't even beat this little girl. The bald man rubbed the scar on his head and spoke. Their combat power is indeed not simple. If you said they were disciples of the immortal sects, I'd believe it. They don't at all look like the trash foundation establishment from a minor family. the man in the red robe said. As he spoke, a jade talisman in his hand flickered on and off. Oh, they're already calling for help. The man in the red robe sneered, since Fang Yu doesn't want to play anymore, then let's take action. These two must have encountered great fortune. If we capture them, our trip here will also yield a great harvest. Fang Yu really has quite the fortune and luck. The bald man sneered, initially getting an inheritance from a nascent soul immortal's cave, and now we come here and stumble upon such a great opportunity. Ha ha ha, indeed, the kid is truly a lucky star. The two laughed heartily and then soared into the sky, turning into streaks of light flying towards the marketplace. SSSS, this Lu family ancestor of Jianghu mountain is pretty formidable. I heard she only broke through Foundation establishment a few years ago, yet she already has such combat power. Not just her, the Bai Lake Mountain Master also broke through Foundation establishment just a few years ago. I heard before that Bai Lake Mountain Master relied on a talisman formation to kill 3 Foundation establishment cultivators. I thought his combat power depended entirely on talismans, didn't expect his spellfighting ability to be so extraordinary too. Exactly, with Mountain Master Lu here, we're set for tonight. In the marketplace, many people watched the battle situation on the main street from a distance. They didn't dare to approach but could still see the general state of affairs. Seeing Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge clearly having the advantage put their minds at ease. Wait, what's this situation? Why are there 2 more foundation building great cultivators? Just then, someone suddenly noticed 2 streaks of light appearing, flying towards the main street. Those 2 wouldn't happen to be robber cultivators too, would they? Most likely. Does that mean this group of robbers has 4 foundation building great cultivators? No, there are also robber cultivators interfering with the marketplace's great formation, this. No wonder they dared to make a direct move on the marketplace. It's all over. I hope Mountain Master Lu can still set up a talisman formation and suppress the robbers. Many cultivators saw 2 escape lights hurtling towards the bustling marketplace, their hearts suddenly sinking. After all, aside from the 4 big families arranging Foundation establishment cultivators to be stationed, there were no other Foundation establishment cultivators residing in Red Leaf Valley Market. Now with the sudden appearance of 2 Foundation establishment cultivators, it was clear they were up to no good, most likely allies of the robbers. In the marketplace, 9 out of 10 people had never seen a Foundation establishment cultivator before. Tonight, seeing so many all at once had left many feeling bewildered. At that moment, in the commercial district. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Chongsheng unleashed a thunderfire infatuation talisman, turning it into endless thunder and earth fire, attacking the gaunt old man. Facing such a terrifying offensive, the gaunt old man was in deep trouble. He had not expected that someone who had broken through Foundation establishment just a few years ago would have such fierce combat power along with second-rank supreme talismans, hardly inferior to the true transmission of immortal sects. He exerted all his strength to activate his dark green shield, forming a dark green light cover. A white long banner by his side fluttered loudly, as white mist billowed and spread continuously, forming multiple barriers all around. Chapter 713, with Lu Mountain Lord here, tonight will be settled. Brother Yu. Tao Xiaolan hid behind the elder, shivering and praying for her older brothers to come quickly. Damn! Seeing this scene, Fang Ye's face turned extremely ugly. Watching the rolling thunder and earth fire, he clenched his teeth and took out a chunky crimson-yellow talisman. Activated by mana, the talisman burst forth with a fierce and surging presence. That's a talisman treasure, Sister Miaoge, be careful. Lu Chongsheng, seeing this scene, immediately raised his voice to warn her. He thought to himself that Fang Yu really had some fortune to possess even a talisman treasure. Without hesitation, he then threw out 2 more thunderfire talismans, trying to suppress and kill the emaciated elder and Fang Yu. Just then, he suddenly sensed 2 streams of energy shooting towards them. Foundation establishment late stage, 2 of them. Lu Chongqing turned his head to look, his expression turning grim. He hadn't expected that this group of robber cultivators hid so well, having 2 Foundation establishment late-stage cultivators. No wonder they dared to pull off such an arrogant and childish stunt like sending a bell as a challenge. Because they truly had the power and confidence to do so. It seems I can't spare my talismans today. I hope you don't disappoint me and make me suffer a loss, Lu Chongqing murmured to himself, activating the 2 thunder fire talismans in his hand, unleashing endless thunder and earth fire that surged and rolled towards Fang Yu and the emaciated elder. Boom boom boom, facing such a tumultuous onslaught, the emaciated elder's dark green light barrier and the white mist emanating from a white long banner could not hold up, getting consumed by the incessant thunder and earth fire. Brother Yu! In the midst of the thunder and earth fire, a piercing scream rang out. Xiaolan! Fang Ye's eyes turned bloodshot, reminded of the scene 10 years ago when his parents were brutally killed. Li! Just then, the crimson-yellow talisman in his hand activated, and with a cry of a divine bird, it transformed into a golden ring engulfed in flames. The golden ring unfolded like a vermilion bird, divine bird, its wings spread wide, flames raging, nearly tearing open the dark night sky as it charged towards Lu Miaoge. Vermilion bird ring, kill! Fang Ye's eyes reddened with rage as he roared furiously, attempting to use this talisman treasure to slay Lu Miaoge and Lu Chongqing. Boom boom boom, the vermilion bird ring, burning everything in its path, tore through the endless thunder and earth fire, transforming into a majestic vermilion bird and pouncing on Lu Miaoge. Lu Miaoge was well prepared for such an attack. In her hand, a second-rank top-quality golden light insignia took form as a resplendent golden barrier, sheltering her. At the same time, she wielded a talisman painted with a bronze spear, radiating a terrifying aura. It was the bronze spear charm that Lu Chongqing had given her. She too sensed the arrival of 2 Foundation establishment cultivators with daunting auras and knew these robber cultivators were not simple, daring not to hold back in the slightest. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. After seeing the emaciated elder's death, Lu Chongqing brought forth a fan forged from black fine iron. The fan in his hand turned into numerous black true mystery spikes shooting out, forming a black iron carapace around Lu Miaoge. He knew the vermilion bird ring talisman in front of him was extraordinarily dangerous, being a talisman treasure with significant killing power. He worried it might accidentally harm Lu Miaoge. Meanwhile, seeing the arrival of the 2 Foundation establishment cultivators, nearly 100 talismans streamed from his sleeves, settling in all directions around them, intending to seal off both himself and Lu Miaoge. Roaring thunder. The vermilion bird ring, like a golden divine bird, struck Lu Miaoge's golden light barrier, producing a violent cacophony. Countless flames burned upon the golden light, causing it to dim instantly and shatter into fragmented golden specks. However, just as the vermilion bird ring was about to continue its attack on Lu Miaoge, a red-gold flying sword shot forth, exploding with endless sharp radiance, breaking through Fang Ye's protective aura. Fang Yu felt his hair stand on end, his mental spirit trembling. The next moment, his world spun wildly, and he saw a headless corpse. At the neck of the headless body, there was a red-gold flying sword. He was the sword cultivator from back then. A surge of hatred, anger, and fear arose in Fang Ye's heart. But before he could continue to ponder, his consciousness plunged into an endless darkness. Chapter 7:14, The Might of the Nine-Colored Tribulation Lightning, Dual Cultivation Technique. _1 With the death of Fang Yu, the vermilion bird divine bird in the sky suddenly lost its mana support. It let out a mournful cry as the flames dissipated, transforming back into a red-yellow talisman treasure, falling from the sky. Lu Chongqing reached out with his man-enforced hand, intending to capture the talisman treasure. "You brat, courting death!" Just then, a heaven-shaking furious roar erupted. A man of towering height and a frame as formidable as a mountain, clad in crimson robes, charged towards Lu Chongqing. His eyes were sharp, his expression ferocious, his entire being emanated a pressuring aura that diminished the boldness of those who laid eyes upon him by a third. Especially his eyes, which at the moment of contact seemed like fire and blood, as if a demon tiger choosing its prey, bursting with an intimidating luster. Combined with the deafening roar, it caused Lu Changsheng's mental spirit to falter momentarily. This was some rare secret technique of divine sense attack. Luckily, Lu Changsheng's divine sense was comparable to that of a cultivator at the pinnacle of Foundation establishment, and he was protected by a spirit-calming spiritual artifact, so he quickly regained his composure after a brief spell of dizziness. However, in the blink of an eye, the burly man in crimson robes tore through the air, appearing before Lu Changsheng. His towering body convulsed with muscles, writhing like dragons and snakes, exuding a terrifying physical presence, and he threw a punch. Boom! His punch, like the striking of a divine drum, carried godlike strength, intent on exploding both Lu Changsheng and the air in front of him. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Changsheng's spiritual artifact soft armor, belt, and ring spontaneously conjured protective shields in that instant, creating numerous colorful light barriers around him. And Lu Changsheng's own body shone with treasured light as his fists radiated endless golden brilliance, powerfully swinging to deflect the terrifying force of the blow. Boom, 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 the two colossal forces clashed like relentless surging waves against the shore, raising a ceaseless roaring din. A terrifying shockwave erupted from the epicenter where the two men stood, sweeping out in all directions. The merchant street's bluestone flooring trembled and cracked, turning into flying gravel. The surrounding shops and pavilions also shook violently, on the verge of collapse, their windows shattered and dust filled the air. This, so terrifying. Is this the strength of a Foundation establishment great cultivator? I've seen a fight between cultivators at the Foundation establishment level before, but it was nowhere near this shocking. Indeed, this presence is clearly a level stronger than what we just witnessed. Many cultivators who were spectating trembled with fear, extremely shocked by the scene. Body cultivation. Lu Changsheng retreated several steps, putting distance between himself and the crimson-robed man, eyeing him intently. Having been in the cultivation world for so long, he had encountered body cultivators before. But never had he met a body cultivator with the strength of the crimson-robed man. That sudden mighty punch, had it been any regular Foundation establishment cultivator on the receiving end, they would likely have been severely injured if not killed. So you are also a body cultivator? The crimson-robed man also stepped back, dissipating the force, his face serious as he regarded Lu Changsheng. He hadn't expected Lu Changsheng to be a body cultivator as well. Being a body cultivator himself, he was acutely aware of the difficulty of pursuing magical dual cultivation. Not only did it consume vast amounts of time and effort, but the resources needed were also several times that of an ordinary cultivator. Particularly Lu Changsheng's physical condition, which was almost as robust as his own, filled him with immense shock. After all, he had heard of Lu Changsheng's general situation and knew that the latter had only recently made a breakthrough in Foundation establishment and had been practicing cultivation for just a few decades. To have a physique at the pinnacle of Foundation establishment under such circumstances was nothing short of astonishing. Such a physique, unless one had an extraordinary talent or great fortune, would typically require at least a century to achieve. You young lad really know how to keep a low profile, looks like your luck is truly heaven sent. The crimson-robed man's face turned fierce with twitching muscles, not daring to underestimate Lu Changsheng in the slightest. He had traveled far and wide, seen many geniuses and talents, knowing that one careless move could lead to total defeat. As he spoke, his muscles bulged and his skin turned a dark red, resembling a volcano on the verge of erupting, as writhing heat waves distorted the space around him. Then a red dragon-patterned long saber appeared in his hand. The hilt had a crimson bead, inside which a small dragon seemed to be roaring. Accompanying the dragon's cry, the blade's dragon patterns came to life, unleashing astonishing spiritual light. Roar, roar, roar. The long saber's crimson flames billowed like a fire dragon lunging at Lu Changsheng with bared fangs and claws. Go! Just then, Lu Maiage's talisman treasure activated, turning into a bronze spear that exuded an air of martial valor. It whistled through the air, suddenly striking towards the crimson-robed man. Windfire formation. Lu Changsheng also made hand signs to activate the talismans placed at the cardinal points of heaven and earth, forming a talisman formation to subdue the crimson-robed man. However, in that very moment, Wu, Gu, Ba, Ma, Hum, Ya, Shi, Hung. A series of urgent and intense sound waves, reminiscent of a dragon tiger's roar, surged towards Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge. Bang, 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 bang. The visible sound waves spread out, scattering the talismans that Lu Changsheng placed in the four corners of the sky and earth. The pavilions around the street, already on the brink of collapse from the residual energy waves, crumbled, windows exploded, signs were ripped away and shattered into pieces. What is this sound? My head hurts so much. Hiss, I feel like my blood is boiling and my heart's racing. Cover your ears, close your senses. Such a terrifying sound wave spell, how can a person produce such a sound? Energy refining cultivators who were somewhat closer to the merchant street experienced their blood and energy surge tumultuously, their faces showing painful expressions due to the roaring. Ape demon subduing god club. An imposing bald man with a scarred scalp and a towering stature emerged from the roar, wielding a black short stick, furiously charging at Lu Changsheng. Chapter 7:15, The Might of the Nine-Colored Tribulation Lightning, Dual Cultivation Technique. Their effort on Feng Yu was considerable, to say the least. It was all for the information about the ancient relic site obtained from his core formation cave abode. Contained within were opportunities related to core formation. But now that Feng Yu was dead, all their efforts had gone to waste. Not good. Upon seeing this, Lu Changsheng knew that the group of robber cultivators was well prepared for his talisman formation. He immediately sacrificed the remaining 7,200 profound truth tactic posts, anchoring the talismans in all directions to form an iron shield. He then activated part of the talisman formation, their magic auras connected, whipping up a fierce storm of fire, sweeping towards the bald man. Second brother, this kid is tricky. Don't give him any chances. The man in a red robe yelled to the bald man. As he spoke, the red dragon-patterned long saber in his hand roared with fiery energy, the brilliance of its flame soaring to the sky, slashing a long dragon made of flames dozens of yards long, turning the flickering darkness below the great formation into a crimson glow, intent on burning all of Lu Changsheng's talismans to ashes. Big brother, I understand. The bald man spoke in a deep voice, his muscles swelling and throbbing, with a glint of gold glistening as he tossed a string of light gold Buddha beads towards the bronze spear in the sky. Following that, holding a black short stick, he charged towards Lu Miaoge like a wrathful King Kong, his aura ferocious. He had instantly recognized that Lu Changsheng's strength and tactics were far superior to Lu Maiage's, and much more difficult to deal with. Lu Miaoge was currently maneuvering the talisman treasure, unable to fend off others. Attacking her could also distract Lu Changsheng. Sister Miaoge, just use the talisman to protect yourself. Seeing this, Lu Changsheng's sleeves fluttered as more talismans flew out, merging with the talisman formation, whipping up fierce winds and fire to block the bald man. At the same time, he commanded the six-winged golden silkworm to strike at the bald man. Red Sun Fire Dragon Cover. The man in the red robe spewed forth a stream of crimson radiance from his mouth. A small, flame-like red cover appeared, enveloping the man, circling above his head, cloaking his entire body. Then holding the red dragon-patterned long saber, he summoned a series of flame dragons, rushing close to attack Lu Changsheng. He knew that in the face of Lu Changsheng in such a situation, he absolutely could not give him a chance to catch his breath. Otherwise, once he regained his composure, he might have some kind of trump card or reserve tactic. Close combat? Well then, let's see if you can withstand the power of my divine skills. Lu Changsheng watched the man in the red robe charging towards him, then glanced at Lu Miaoge, his expression becoming fierce. He had no intention of dragging out the battle and prepared for a quick and decisive conclusion. 9 treasures Rui Bone, 9-colored tribulation light. With a thunderous sound, it was as though a volcano had erupted or a river had broken its banks within his chest, much like the thunderous roar that resonated with a grand and mysterious aura. From afar, Lu Changsheng appeared like a deity, his mana surging around him, instilling dread in those who watched. The bald man and Lu Miaoge beside couldn't help but glance at Lu Changsheng, unsure of what was happening. The next moment, a tsunami of resplendent 9-colored divine light burst forth from Lu Changsheng's chest, surging and endless. Within the tribulation light, runic symbols undulated like wriggling tadpoles, exuding an aura that could suppress and destroy all forms of magic. What kind of technique is this? The man in the red robe could not recognize the divine skills and felt an ominous palpitation from Lu Changsheng's immeasurably powerful technique. Not daring to be the slightest bit negligent, he pushed his red sun fire dragon cover to its limits, the spiritual light flashing wildly and the aura of fire churning, with a fierce and impressive fire dragon coiling atop the shield. Boom! As the 9-colored tribulation light descended, the dozens of yards-long flame dragons that the man in the red robe had slashed out instantly disintegrated into ashes. Immediately after, the fire dragon coiled around his protective shield let out a mournful cry, dissipating visibly to the naked eye. How is this possible? The man in the red robe's eyes revealed disbelief as he quickly exerted his full strength to drive the red sun fire dragon cover. Countless red spiritual blossoms burst forth, transforming into a series of fire dragons. But no sooner had a fire dragon appeared than it was scattered by the 9-colored light, turned to ash. In merely an instant, the man in the red robe felt his mana being rapidly drained, struggling to maintain his efforts, his face turning pale, his breath ragged. Meanwhile, Lu Changsheng stood with an indifferent expression, like a deity presiding over life and death, showing no signs of excessive strain. Humming, the red sun fire dragon cover hovering above his head buzzed continuously, cracks appearing on its surface. How is this possible? How can he, at the initial stage of foundation establishment, have such mana, to wield such a technique? The man in the red robe's face contorted in pain, blood oozing from his 7 orifices, unable to utter a word. If it weren't for the mismatch in Lu Changsheng's mana aura, showing no sign of core formation, he would have believed that the man before him was a false core immortal. He had once encountered a false core immortal whose attacks were nowhere near as domineering. The next moment. Boom! The red sun fire dragon cover, a top-tier spiritual artifact, let out a pitiful wail before bursting apart, shattering into pieces. The 9-colored tribulation light struck the man in the red robe, sending him flying backward, his body crisped and shattered, his flesh a blurry mess. Under this strike, the man in the red robe suffered devastating injuries. Like a mountain, his body smashed into a shop not far away, pulverizing it into rubble, as he spat mouthfuls of fresh blood. Not bad, Lu Changsheng muttered to himself, slightly nodding his head. He was quite satisfied with the power of the 9-colored tribulation light, though it was a pity to completely ruin a spiritual artifact. He turned to the 6-winged golden silkworm, his mental spirit drifting slightly. Go. Swoosh. In an instant, the 6-winged golden silkworm released its bloodthirsty evil aura and transformed into a streak of golden light, shooting towards the man in the red robe. At this moment, the man in the red robe attempted to execute his body-refining techniques. Chapter 7:16, The Power of the 9-Colored Tribulation Light, Dual Cultivation Technique. But under the strike of the 9-colored escape light, he felt excruciating pain throughout his body, each part felt as though it was being torn apart cruelly. To say nothing of facing the 6-winged golden silkworm, even facing an energy-refining cultivator, he now found it difficult to fend off, only to see the 6-winged golden silkworm killing its way over. Pfft! His chest was directly penetrated by the golden light, and blood gushed forth. Hiss hiss hiss, seeing the blood, the savage nature of the six-winged golden silkworm was completely triggered. It frantically tore, gnawed, and sucked the blood. No! The red-robed giant roared in despair, his mouth filled with blood. But at this moment, he was powerless to resist the actions of the six-winged golden silkworm. He only felt his internal organs being gnawed, blood being drawn, his whole body in unbearable pain, becoming increasingly weak, and his consciousness blurring. Big brother! The bald giant was shocked upon witnessing this scene, eyes filled with disbelief. Having followed the red-robed giant all these years, he was very much aware of his brother's prowess. Skilled in both martial and magical arts at the peak of Foundation establishment, among Foundation builders he was an unbeatable existence. Even when facing off against false core immortals, he could stand a few exchanges before escaping. But now, he had been so swiftly defeated at the hands of Lu Chongsheng, a defeat most miserable. At that moment, without hesitation, he decisively took out a talisman to flee for his life. After all, if his cheap big brother couldn't win, not being a match for Lu Chongsheng, continuing the fight was merely courting death. As for brotherly affection, although there was some, it was not much. You think you can escape? Seeing this, Lu Chongsheng immediately freed up his hands, forming seals with both hands, and caused 10,809 mysteries true seals to block the bald giant's escape in every direction. At the same time, talismans flew out from his sleeves, connecting in a talisman formation, with wind aiding fire, fierce gales sweeping across, and roaring flames surging. Kill! Lu Miaoge, seeing this, also immediately propelled her bronze spear towards the bald giant. Fellow Daoist, if you are willing to spare me, I have a grand opportunity to offer you. With his escape blocked by the talisman formation, and attacks bearing down on him, the bald giant quickly released several defense talisman, creating walls of golden light to defend against the assaults. Wind Fire Thunder Talisman Array, kill! Lu Chongsheng had an indifferent expression, turning a deaf ear. Fellow Daoist, this opportunity is an ancient relic site, containing top-tier inheritance, the chance for core formation, even nascent soul opportunities. The bald giant's expression grew uglier as he continued to shout loudly. In the midst of his words, he slapped his storage bag, sacrificing a golden great bell. The bell was dazzling with golden light, resplendent and eye-catching, giving off an indomitable sense of heaviness, enveloping him completely. Nonetheless, he still used his golden prayer beads to smash down on the 9 mysteries true seals, attempting to break the talisman formation's lockdown. 9 mysteries true seals, kill! Lu Chongsheng was still unmoved. The opportunity for core formation and the top-tier inheritance held no appeal for him. In his system space, he still had a coagulation crystal elixir. As for the chance for a nascent soul, he believed that once he formed his core, he wouldn't need to worry. Phew, 7,200 true seals closed off heaven and earth, stabilizing the talisman array, while 3,609 mysteries true seals entered the great formation, continually assailing the bald giant. Boom boom boom, ting ting ting, gales swept through, fierce fire surged, thunder rolled, and accompanied by the pitch-black 9 mysteries true seals, they continued to blast against the golden great bell, ringing out with a constant metallic clang. Sister Miaoge, there are robber cultivators outside preparing to flee, you immediately use the great formation to stop them, they'll be right there. Just then, Lu Chongsheng noticed the commotion at the marketplace's great formation diminishing. He knew that the Foundation establishment robber cultivators interfering with the great formation sensed something was amiss here and were preparing to flee. Facing such robber cultivators, he naturally aimed to eradicate them utterly, not allowing anyone to escape and become a future threat. Lu Miaoge had talisman treasures, third-rank talismans at her side, and as long as she didn't encounter Foundation establishment cultivators of the caliber of the red-robed giant or the current bald giant, it was generally not an issue. Moreover, Lu Miaoge was in control of the marketplace's great formation. Although she couldn't operate the great formation's full power like Ling Zixiao, she could still enhance her own strength. Alright, Chongsheng, be careful. Lu Miaoge, upon hearing this, did not hesitate, withdrew her bronze spear, transformed into escape light, and flew towards the spot where the formation was broken earlier. Emichim. Lu Chongqing nodded slightly, continuing to watch the bald giant within the talisman formation. At this point, the opponent was like a fish in a jar. Boom boom boom, under the barrage of talisman and the assault of the 9 mysteries true seals, the golden great bell dimmed, cracks began to appear, no longer self-repairing. Surprisingly, though, this golden great bell actually had the ability to self-repair. The cracks that appeared on it were visibly mending at a rate perceptible to the naked eye. Phew phew phew, seeing this, Lu Chongqing fired off another 18 second rank talismans. Hoo, with the addition of these 18 second rank talismans, the power of the entire talisman formation immediately increased, linked with the 9 mysteries true seals, totally fierce and turbulent. Damn it, how does he have so many talismans? Watching Lu Chongqing with so many talismans, the bald giant's face grew uglier and uglier. Although the golden great bell had self-repair ability, it was dependent on his own mana. Under such relentless bombardment, his mana couldn't keep up at all. Fellow Daoist, as long as you are willing to spare my life, I am willing to submit and serve you. The bald giant continued to shout out. Although he was a Foundation establishment great cultivator, having survived in the cultivation world for so long, he knew when to be tough and when to bend. However, Lu Chongqing was still unmoved. While he didn't mind taking on followers, he looked at the person and the situation. Boom boom boom, under the onslaught of the talisman formation, the golden great bell finally began to lose its luster, the cracks no longer healed. Chapter 717, The Might of the 9-Colored Tribulation Lightning, Dual Cultivation Technique. _4, Explode. Witnessing this scene, Lu Chongqing didn't waste any more time. He formed hand seals and uttered an indifferent syllable, detonating the talisman formation. As the syllable dropped, in an instant, all the talisman's energies fused together, unleashing an extremely violent mana fluctuation. Boom! Subsequently, an earth-shattering explosion roared into being. It brightened the night sky in that moment, making the entire marketplace seem to shake and shimmer, a mushroom cloud rising into the air. This, such terrifying power. Is this the might of a foundation-building great cultivator? This power is simply too frightening. Everyone in the market heard the intense explosion and felt a jolt in their hearts. Lu Chongqing watched the fierce and wild mana waves before him, smoothed his sleeves, and dispersed them. Through his divine sense, he could tell that the bald man's presence had been extinguished. The golden great bell that survived the explosion was now a dim, shattered remnant, which made Lu Chongqing feel a twinge of regret. From the fight just now, he could tell that the golden great bell was an extremely fine spiritual artifact. What a pity it was now broken beyond repair, reduced to scrap. As for the bald man, he had been reduced to a charred and broken corpse. The face still intact, wore a horrific expression of dying with grievances unappeased. The abilities and resources of these two should provide a good haul, right? Lu Chongqing glanced over at the red-robed man who, under the gnawing of the 6-winged golden silkworm, had also ceased to breathe, contemplating in his heart. Eat later. Lu Chongqing said to the 6-winged golden silkworm. Then with a sweep of his hand, he gathered the magic artifacts, spiritual artifacts, and storage bags of the deceased into his possession. After doing so, he sensed the battle energy from Lu Miaoge's direction, turned into a streak of light, and shot forth suddenly. At this very moment, by the eastern gate of Red Leaf Valley Market. Boom! 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 Lu Miaoge was engaging in fierce combat with a middle-aged man with a face pale as jade and sinister brows, using her water dragon technique. This middle-aged man, clearly disinclined to fight, defended continuously. He manipulated several array flags to leverage the Red Leaf Valley Market's great formation, trying to break a gap to escape through. So soon. The sinister man's expression changed, turning ugly. He hadn't expected his brothers to be dealt with by Lu Chongsheng so quickly. He had thought tonight's mission would be a casual affair and hadn't prepared much. Such as breaking a gap in the great formation in advance, ready for an escape. But by the time he realized that something was amiss and his elder brother was being suppressed, it was already too late for escape. Swoosh! Lu Chongsheng, wielding the true Yang five-element sword, made a fierce slash forward. Fierce and domineering seven luminary sword chi emerged, shooting towards the sinister man. Damn it! The sword chi tore through the air, forcing the sinister man's complexion to change slightly. He formed seals with his hands, and from his fan flickered rays of light that spiraled in the air, materializing into multicolored light barriers in front of him. Pft, pft, pft. The seven luminary sword chi was incredibly sharp, successively breaking through the light barriers. The sinister man's face darkened at this scene, and he called out, "Honored cultivators, I am a second-rank array master. If you spare me, I'll be at your service should you ever require my skills, no matter the task." His strength was average, merely at the foundation establishment middle stage. The reason he managed to be brotherly with the red-robed and bald men was due to his skill in formations. After all, for robbers, having an array master was beneficial for exploring ancient ruins, ambushing and killing, or breaking into other spiritual lands. However, both Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge remained silent, continuing their assault on the sinister man. Water Dragon Technique, Kill. Lu Miaoge's hands flew through seals, controlling the water dragon as it surged towards the sinister man. The sinister man still relied on his folding fan and activated talismans to fend off their attacks. But against the water dragon and sword chi, he could barely manage a defense. A moment later. Pierce! A sound of piercing the air echoed. The true Yang five-element sword burst forth, transforming into a streak of light that punctured the sinister man's chest. I refuse to accept this. The sinister man immediately grunted, vomiting blood, his face filled with unwillingness. Pft, pft, pft. The sword chi was merciless, erupting forth and instantly slicing the sinister man's body into several pieces, snuffing out his life energy. Everything should be taken care of now, Lu Chongsheng said, looking toward Lu Miaoge. Unless there are robber cultivators hiding in the marketplace, there shouldn't be any left, Lu Miaoge replied, taking out the array plate and sensing for a moment before she spoke. Tonight, the robber cultivators who caused chaos in the Red Leaf Valley market have all been suppressed. To all affected, Lu Chongsheng, hereby extend my apologies for any disturbance and inconvenience caused. In 3 days, our Red Leaf Valley market will provide an explanation for tonight's events. Additionally, to ensure everyone's safety, the marketplace will be closed for a few days for an examination to root out any remaining robber cultivators. If anyone has any information, please report it to our enforcement team, and you will be rewarded by the marketplace. Lu Chongsheng took the array plate from Lu Miaoge's hand, injected his mana, and used the formation to spread his voice throughout the entire marketplace. After speaking, Lu Chongsheng continued, "Enforcement team, come to see me immediately." All suppressed? There were 5 foundation establishment cultivators just now. Lu Mountain Lord is mighty, Lu Ancestor is mighty. Are the Mountain Master of Bai Lake Mountain and his wife really just a few years into their foundation establishment? Their strength is astonishing. This is definitely not the strength of someone who has just achieved foundation establishment. That's right, I've never heard of 2 early-stage foundation establishment cultivators being able to slay 5 foundation establishment cultivators. That talisman formation, and that 9-colored aurora, were simply too amazing. Hearing Lu Chongsheng's words, the cultivators in the market began to buzz with conversation. For them, tonight was a sleepless night. Although most could only watch the overall battle from afar, such a display of magical combat had a profound impact on them. We pay respect to the ancestor. We pay respect to the ancestor. We pay respect to the ancestor. Before long, the law enforcement cultivators of the marketplace arrived. Most of these cultivators were from the Lu family of Jianghu Mountain and the Bai family of Hundred Birds Lake. Only a few were from the Wugong Ridge Zheng family and some were recruited loose cultivators. Seeing Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge, they were all extremely respectful. Especially the Lu family cultivators of Jianghu Mountain, looking at Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge, felt as if they were dreaming. After all, having an ancestor with such combat power and making such a show of force was a cause for immense joy among them. Send someone to clean up and rebuild the commercial street, take stock of all the damaged shops and buildings, and calculate the losses. Then search every part of the marketplace to see if there are any traces of robber cultivators left and determine when these 5 robbers arrived. Lu Chongsheng commanded the enforcement cultivators with a calm yet distant voice, but for those hearing it, it carried an undeniable authority. As you command. As you command. As you command. The law enforcement cultivators responded in unison, bowing respectfully. As they left, Lu Chongsheng looked toward Lu Miaoge and spoke telepathically, "Sister Miaoge, regarding tonight's events, we will later say to others that the cultivation technique we practice is a dual cultivation technique. As long as we are together, we can temporarily raise our cultivation level to the middle stage of foundation establishment, and when we join forces, we can even unleash the combat power of the late foundation establishment stage." Lu Chongsheng made this suggestion. He hadn't revealed too much of his own power that evening. But the combat power he and Lu Miaoge displayed was still somewhat astonishing. 2 individuals only a few years into their foundation establishment, slaying 5 foundation establishment robber cultivators, was hardly a believable story no matter how it was twisted. Therefore, thinking about the Tai Sheng Shui Ju which he and Lu Miaoge were practicing, he came up with this explanation. After all, belief in the story was discretionary. He was merely providing a plausible rationale. Furthermore, there were no foundation establishment cultivators in the Red Leaf Valley market, as they were all Qi refinement cultivators. Even if there were exceptionally perceptive individuals among them, it was unlikely they could deduce the specific strength from the overall battle situation. "We are indeed practicing a dual cultivation technique," Lu Miaoge responded with a gentle demeanor and a water-like grace, laughing softly. Since the moment Lu Chongsheng took out the foundation establishment elixir, the 3 foundation establishment spirit objects and the Tai Sheng Shui Ju, she knew that Lu Chongsheng had always concealed his skills, harboring many secrets unknown to others. Particularly after cultivating the Tai Sheng Shui Ju, through the Tai Dao seed, she could faintly sense Lu Chongsheng's cultivation level, knowing that he was not someone who had just broken through to foundation establishment. She even faintly guessed through the Tai Dao seed and the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture that the sword cultivator in the marketplace of Red Leaf Valley 10 years ago was Lu Chongsheng. But as Lu Chongsheng hadn't spoken of it, she wouldn't inquire further. Knowing that broadcasting such matters would seem too astonishing. However, this battle had confirmed her suspicion that the sword cultivator from 10 years prior was indeed Lu Chongsheng. At that time, Lu Chongsheng had already broken through to foundation establishment and was capable of slaying a middle-stage foundation establishment robber cultivator. This added yet another layer of mystery to her husband. Nonetheless, after many years as husband and wife, Lu Chongsheng's various deeds had left her with no doubt about his intentions, and she knew his secrets were born of necessity. Chapter 718, Settling the Gains. Treasure Map. _1, Sister Miaoge, I'm sorry, I didn't intentionally hide many things from you in the past. Lu Chongsheng said to Lu Miaoge with an apologetic expression. He could conceal his combat power from others in the marketplace, but obviously, he couldn't keep it from Lu Miaoge. Through the recent battle, Lu Miaoge should have noticed a lot. However, since both he and Lu Miaoge practiced the Tai Sheng Shui Ju, Lu Miaoge had long been aware of many things, he just didn't mention them, and she wouldn't have asked. Now, concerning these matters, he naturally wouldn't hide them anymore. It's okay, Chongsheng. Lu Miaoge said with a gentle smile. She was well aware that Lu Chongsheng's opportunities far exceeded anyone's imagination. If such news were to be leaked, it would be very dangerous. Thinking about Lu Changsheng's situation, where he dared not reveal a hint of his fortune and had to keep it deeply hidden, always treading on thin ice, must have been incredibly hard. With a touch of heartache, she clasped her husband's hand, intertwining her fingers with his. Changsheng, these years must have been very tough on you. If there's ever anything in the future that you find hard to keep to yourself, you can talk to me. We're husband and wife. Lu Miaoge said with eyes brimming with warmth and gentleness. All right. Lu Changsheng said, holding his wife's delicate hand, with a smile on his face. Then, turning to look at the corpses of the sinister men and the several arranged flags, he said, Sister Miaoge, it seems that our harvest tonight should be quite substantial. It's a pity that a few spiritual artifacts were damaged. Lu Miaoge said somewhat regretfully. Even the cheapest spiritual artifact could be worth several thousand to tens of thousands of spirit stones. In this battle, she saw 2 spiritual artifacts get damaged by Lu Changsheng, which pained her. Speaking of spiritual artifacts, Sister Miaoge, you don't have a life-bound spiritual artifact yet. I also forgot about this matter. With tonight's loot, it should be more than enough to craft a few spiritual artifacts for you. Lu Changsheng laughed. The Water of Virtue technique, like the 7 luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture, had its corresponding life-bound spiritual artifacts. However, he had forgotten about Lu Miaoge's life-bound spiritual artifact due to the family affairs. It was only after seeing Lu Miaoge in battle, using only the crossbow and talismans he gave her, that he remembered this matter. He knew that Lu Miaoge didn't have enough spirit stones to buy the materials to craft her life-bound spiritual artifact. I have already started buying the materials to craft the water vase. Lu Miaoge said with a light laugh. The water vase. Lu Changsheng nodded and said, the water vase isn't strong in attack, so forge a Tai Chi talisman along with it, so you can have both offense and defense. Good, Lu Miaoge said with a smile, her lips lightly curved. Let's go, it's time to calculate our gains. Lu Changsheng said to Lu Miaoge with a smile. Soon the two turned into a stream of light and returned to their cavern abode. Sister, Lu Changsheng, are you both okay? Lu Miaohuan immediately came forward with concern when she saw them return, examining Lu Changsheng from head to toe. Of course, we're okay. Sorry for making you worry, Huan. Lu Changsheng said with a gentle smile. Thereafter, he took out various storage artifacts and storage bags and said, Come on, Huan, let's start sorting out the loot. To him, there was nothing more joyful than tallying the spoils after defeating a robber cultivator. Sort out the loot. Seeing that both Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge were unharmed, and noticing the storage bags and artifacts, Lu Miaohuan became interested. Immediately, the 3 of them began to tally the spoils of this battle. Wow, so many spirit stones. Lu Miaohuan exclaimed in surprise upon opening a storage bag and seeing the spirit stones inside. Lu Changsheng glanced at it, his mouth twitching slightly. There were about 3,000 to 5,000 spirit stones inside. However, considering that Lu Miaohuan, although being the young lady of the Lu family of Jianghu Mountain and the lady of the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family, was nevertheless just a minor cultivator in the Qi refinement realm and hadn't seen much of the world, it was normal for her to make a fuss over seeing so many spirit stones. He chuckled and said, Hee, then you're in for a surprise later. Ah, right, Huan, this talisman treasure has a pretty good power, take it for self-defense. As he spoke, Lu Changsheng handed a vermilion bird ring talisman to Lu Miaohuan. He basically had no use for talisman treasures anymore. Plus, he already had a talisman treasure by his side, so he had no use for this vermilion bird ring talisman. A talisman treasure. Lu Miaohuan's eyes shone upon hearing this, and she looked at the reddish-yellow talisman treasure. It depicted a golden ring surrounded by flame patterns, emitting a mysterious and formidable aura. Although she had never seen a talisman treasure, she had heard of their great reputation. She knew that it was made by nascent soul immortals from their own magic artifacts, consuming their origin source to craft, and the power was immensely strong, usable even by an energy refinement cultivator. Did you see it just now? This talisman forms a golden ring of fire and can transform into a vermilion bird, divine bird, Lu Chongsheng explained. This is too precious. A talisman treasure can only unleash its full potential in the foundation establishment stage, so maybe sister should have it instead, Lu Miaohuan said, a bit hesitant. Although she wanted it, she knew the talisman treasure was precious, and giving it to her would not make full use of its power, which would be a waste. Huan, just keep it. I have a talisman treasure too, Lu Miaoga said, looking at her considerate sister with a gentle smile. She took out her bronze spear charm and said softly. Then I'll accept it, thank you, husband. Lu Miaohuan said, visibly happy as she accepted the talisman treasure and kissed Lu Chongsheng to show her gratitude. He. Lu Chongsheng chuckled at the young lad's reaction and began to inspect several items from a storage bag that appeared to be rare. Transforming dragon ginseng, illusion heart grass, blue spiritual liquid. Chongsheng, these are auxiliary materials for crafting a foundation building elixir, Lu Miaoga suddenly said, looking at the spiritual medicines. Illusion heart grass? Lu Chongsheng raised an eyebrow upon hearing this. It was the only ingredient he was missing for crafting the foundation establishment elixir, and he didn't expect to find it here. Chapter 719, Settling the Gains. Treasure Map. It seems they were preparing to refine a batch of foundation establishment elixirs. Now they're just short of a heavenly spirit fruit and a special monster core of the second rank, Lu Chongsheng said with a laugh. With this illusion heart grass, he could start refining foundation establishment elixirs when he got back. If we collect a heavenly spirit fruit or a special second rank monster core later, we can directly gather all the ingredients for a batch of foundation establishment elixirs. Even if we don't use them ourselves, these few spiritual medicines are also quite valuable. Lu Miaoga said with a smile on her face. Although she was a foundation establishment cultivator and had seen some of the world, she had never had such a bountiful harvest before. The three of them chatted while they sorted through their loot. Red Sun Melting Gold Technique, an exquisite level cultivation technique. Cultivating the Red Sun True Fire, melding with 100 refined pure gold, Black Tiger Overpowering Body, an exquisite level cultivation technique. Infusing body with essence blood of tiger lineage demon beasts, refining the flesh, capable of demonic transformation, Lu Chongsheng found 2 jade slips inside a brocade box. He knew these must be the cultivation techniques practiced by the red-robed man. He glanced over briefly, the Red Sun Melting Gold technique was quite good. But the Black Tiger Overpowering Body was less so. Although the physical body became strong and domineering, far surpassing ordinary body refinement techniques, the process of refining affected one's nature, blending the essence blood of demon beasts into one's body, and caused one's physique to grow increasingly massive. Setting the brocade box aside, Lu Chongsheng continued to inspect another brocade box. As soon as this box was opened, a burst of intense heat and a fragrant scent invigorated Lu Chongsheng's spirit slightly. Is this fire marrow date? Lu Chongsheng saw a date-sized item inside the brocade box, resembling a piece of agate on fire. This fire marrow date was an important auxiliary material for refining the coagulation crystal elixir. However, Lu Chongsheng's recognition of this fire date wasn't because of the coagulation crystal elixir's ingredients. Instead, this fire marrow date was one of the core formation spiritual objects. Consuming it alone could potentially enhance the effect of cultivating fire attribute techniques during the push to core formation. Fire marrow date, this is a core formation spiritual object, somewhat helpful for breaking through to core formation, and also one of the main auxiliary materials for the coagulation crystal elixir. Lu Miaoga was also excited when she saw the agate date. She said to Lu Chongsheng, "Chongsheng, you can also start gathering some core formation spiritual objects now and collect the materials for the coagulation crystal elixir." There's no hurry, Lu Chongsheng chuckled and replied, with this fire marrow date, today's expenditure on talismans has been recouped. He and Lu Miaoge had used a total of 5 supreme talismans of the second rank, 9 middle-grade talismans of the second rank, 27 lower-grade talismans of the second rank, and 81 first-grade talismans in their prior battle. Not to mention Lu Miaoge's single strike with her talisman treasure, the total cost was about 30 to 40,000 spirit stones. Yet, just this one fire marrow date was worth 30 to 40,000 spirit stones. It took the better half of an hour for the 3 to clear out the storage bags of the 6 robber cultivators. Inside, there were 319 middle-grade spirit stones. And 23,052 lower-grade spirit stones. 3 supreme spiritual artifacts, 2 superior spiritual artifacts, 3 middle-grade spiritual artifacts, 5 lower-grade spiritual artifacts, and 4 supreme magic artifacts. However, 2 of the supreme spiritual artifacts were the divine fire cover and golden bell of the red-robed man and the bald man, respectively. One was severely damaged by the 9 tribulations divine light, the other was directly battered beyond repair during the chaos of the talisman formation, almost rendered as scrap. The other spiritual artifacts were relatively undamaged, at most having minor wear. Apart from spirit stones, spiritual artifacts, magic artifacts, elixir medicines, talisman, spiritual medicine, cultivation technique inheritances, and a pile of other precious spiritual materials, 1/3 rank purple dragon wood particularly surprised Lu Changsheng. This kind of spiritual wood that could be used to make talisman paper was very rare in the usual course of things. Pan Yuan turning technique. Lu Changsheng inspected each jade slip. This was a technique jade slip, admittedly a peripheral sect-level cultivation technique within. However, this cultivation technique, like the Red Phoenix True Scripture he obtained before, could only be cultivated up to the core formation stage. There was nothing further. 2 peripheral sect-level cultivation techniques, both only reaching up to the core formation stage. Is this a coincidence or what? Lu Changsheng frowned slightly, deep in thought. Although it could only be cultivated up to core formation, it was still considered a top-tier technique. Counting this peripheral sect-level technique, Lu Changsheng had garnered 3 exquisite level techniques in this hall, as well as a second-rank superior talisman path inheritance and the formation path insights from the effeminate man. Changsheng, this seems to be a treasure map related to an ancient relic site, Lu Miaoge, holding an aged and old-fashioned sheepskin scroll drawn on some kind of material, spoke up. A treasure map, an ancient relic site. Lu Miaohuan, present nearby, suddenly piqued in interest at this news, joining her sister to examine the treasure map. Most cultivators in the cultivation world are deeply interested in exploring relic sites, because they all know from what they hear and see that ordinary cultivators must rely on fortuitous encounters. Many explore relic sites for it. It looks like the ancient relic site that the robber cultivator mentioned earlier is this one, but this kind of thing is interesting to look at, there's no need to take it too seriously, Lu Changsheng said with a laugh. He had no interest in treasure maps, in his opinion, the least valuable thing was just this kind of treasure map. While it might sound precious, with chances for core formation or nascent soul opportunities within the relics, no one knew the specific value or how to directly obtain it. Once someone set their heart on treasure hunting, not only was there no guarantee of a reward, but it could also bring a torrent of trouble and danger, and one might just end up losing their life for nothing. So that kind of item, let whoever wants it take it. Lu Miaoge nodded gently in agreement when she heard this. Although she was quite interested in treasure maps, she had no intentions of exploring ancient relics. After examining some miscellaneous items, the 3 of them estimated that, excluding items like technique inheritances that were hard to value, the total was worth roughly 200,000 spirit stones. Chapter 720, Settling the Gains. Treasure Map. After estimating the number of spirit stones, both Lu Miaohuan and Lu Miaoge felt a bit dizzy. Even when tallying up, they already had a rough idea that this haul was incredibly rich. But they never imagined it would be worth so much. You see, the total annual income of the entire Jianghu mountain is only 20 to 30,000 spirit stones. If you subtract the tribute, family expenses and so on, the amount of spirit stones saved each year is barely a few thousand. And now, slaying a group of robber cultivators has directly yielded 200,000 spirit stones, leaving the two ladies at a loss for words. Lu Chongsheng, on the other hand, was relatively calm about this. In his view, the value of these robber cultivators didn't even match their fighting power. But robber cultivators make money quickly and spend it just as fast, so having this much wealth was already quite good. No wonder so many cultivators become robber cultivators, they are just too rich. Lu Miaohuan said aloud, somewhat touched. She came to understand deeply why so many cultivators were willing to risk doing such things. Huan, don't even think about that. If you need spirit stones, just tell your husband. Lu Chongsheng chuckled lightly, speaking to his delicate wife in a warm voice. He knew that so many spirit stones would cause a certain shock to his wife. However, in his view, as his wife, she should indeed broaden her horizons and increase her knowledge. Where would I think about such things? It just feels like I'm dreaming. Lu Miaohuan chided Lu Chongsheng with a glance. Sister Miaoga, keep these spirit stones. Forge your life-bound spiritual artifact as soon as possible, and don't be afraid to spend money. If it's not enough, continue to tell me. Huan, keep these spirit stones and spend more time on your cultivation. Lu Chongsheng gave Lu Miaoga 30,000 spirit stones and Lu Miaohuan 5,000. Alright, Lu Miaoga responded with a gentle and warm expression. Lu Miaohuan, with a face full of happiness, said, thank you, husband. Let me see Wanhuan's sincerity. Lu Chongsheng looked at the delicate wife before him, drew her slender waist into his arms, and then captured her plump, luscious, dewy red lips. The familiar foray made Lu Miaohuan's body tremble slightly, and she hummed softly through her delicate nose. However, she didn't resist Lu Chongsheng's actions at all, her slender and beautiful arms wrapped around his neck, responding gently. Their breaths intertwined, and the sweet fragrance filled the space between them. Sister Miaoga. A moment later, as their lips parted, Lu Chongsheng called out to Lu Miaoga. Lu Miaoga pouted slightly, her cheeks blushing like the dawn, criticizing in her heart that this bad man was expecting something from her and her sister. But having just been through a battle, she thought to indulge Lu Chongsheng this time, softly giving an in response. Soon after, a sense of spring filled the air within the cave dwelling. Dawn was just breaking. Lu Yuanzhong, Bai Yunyang, and Patriarch Sheng, after receiving a message from Lu Chongsheng, hastened to the Red Leaf Valley Market. The elder ancestor of the Su family, Su Renguang, also came along with Patriarch Sheng. When they arrived at the marketplace and briefly understood the situation from the previous night from their own juniors, all wore faces of utter confusion. 5 Foundation establishment robber cultivators causing trouble in the marketplace? All subdued by Chongsheng and Sister Miaoga. The battle, it didn't even last a quarter of an hour. The talisman formation, a beam of divine light, beyond astonishing. And 2 talisman treasures appeared. Among these 5 robber cultivators, there was at least one in the middle stage, even late stage of foundation establishment. The 4 were all in disbelief upon hearing this news, but with their own juniors' emphatic claims, they began to half doubt and half believe. Mainly because such an event was too shocking, too incredible to believe. Although Lu Chongsheng was known to have impressively slain 3 Foundation establishment cultivators on his own. But 3 Foundation establishment cultivators and 5 Foundation establishment robber cultivators are not the same concept at all. Those who become robber cultivators generally do not lack in combat prowess. Moreover, this group of robber cultivators dared to carry out the audacious act of delivering Yuan Zhong, with a late-stage Foundation establishment magic aura on the clock, all indicating they were no simpletons. Yet such a group of robber cultivators were easily subdued by Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoga, which was simply unbelievable to them. Even if Lu Chongsheng had a talisman formation, there must be a limit to its power, right? Moreover, Lu Chongsheng had previously used several hundred talismans on the three elders of the Yu family. Where would he get so many talismans now? Lu Chongsheng, although a second-grade talisman master, couldn't just make talismans every day. There were other affairs to attend to, not to mention he was also selling talismans to outsiders. All four were puzzled, their faces a picture of bewilderment, as they waited for Lu Chongsheng to arrive. In a spacious and elegant cave dwelling. Wisps of incense rose from the amethyst incense burner, filling the dwelling with a faint, tranquil fragrance, soothing to one's mental spirit. On the jade bed, Lu Chongsheng was embracing his two wives' snowy white bodies, resting. At that moment, he sensed the jade talisman at his side flickering dimly and brightly, lightly twinkling, indicating that Lu Yuanzhong, Bai Yunyang, and others had arrived. "Sister Miaoge, it's about time we went over," Lu Chongsheng said softly, looking towards Lu Miaoge. Lu Miaoge replied with her beautiful eyes lifting softly, shimmering with luster. "Huan, you stay home and rest well," Lu Chongsheng said, looking at the other, Lu Miaohuan, who was as soft as silk, with disheveled hair, lazy and charming. Lu Miaohuan replied lethargically and closed her beautiful eyes again. Immediately after, Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge got dressed and walked out of the cave dwelling. Although he had gone through a major battle the previous night, he showed no hint of weariness and felt fresh and clear-headed. The two approached the meeting hall of Red Leaf Valley. Upon seeing Lu Yuanzhong, Bai Yunyang, Patriarch Sheng, and Su Rengguang waiting for him in the great hall, Lu Chongsheng greeted them with a smile, "Uncle, Daoist Su, Daoist Bai, Patriarch Sheng." He was dressed in a green robe, handsome and refined, with an air of transcendence, like a noble orchid or a tall and upright tree, serene and detached. Beside him, Lu Miaoge was in a snow-white dress, her face pretty and fresh, her aura as gentle as water. As the two walked shoulder to shoulder into the hall, they looked like a perfect couple. All four gazing at this couple, who seemed like celestial beings, were somewhat dazed, finding it hard to believe that just last night, the two had subdued 5 Foundation Establishment robber cultivators. Chapter 721, Yun Wanshang. If I had brought him back to the Qingyun sect at that time. 1 Chongsheng, Miaoge, you've arrived, please, take a seat. Lu Yuanzhong rose to his feet, a broad smile on his face as he beckoned the two to sit down. Although he was immensely shocked by Lu Chengsheng's and Lu Maiage's martial prowess, his heart was filled with even greater joy. After all, Bai Lake Mountain and Qingzhou Mountain, despite being two separate families, were related in their own way. About last night's incident with the robber cultivators, you all must be clear on it by now, right? Once Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge were seated, they asked. The events of the night before didn't need to be further explained, as the offspring from the 4 houses in the marketplace, Lu's cultivators, and other forces would send word back to their families. We've heard bits and pieces. I've heard that last night there were 5 Foundation Establishment robber cultivators causing trouble. Mountain Lord Lu, are these the same robber cultivators who delivered us the bell previously? Lu Daoist, the bell that the robber cultivators sent earlier contained the mana of the late Foundation Establishment stage. What was the power level of these robber cultivators? All 4 nodded and spoke up. Last night a total of 6 robber cultivators caused trouble, 5 Foundation Establishment cultivators and 1 at the peak of Qi refinement, among them were 2 in the late Foundation Establishment stage. Lu Chongsheng disclosed without holding back. SSSSS. What? A great cultivator at the late Foundation Establishment stage. There were actually 2 late Foundation Establishment stage robber cultivators last night, this. Hearing this, all 4 faces showed shock, their hearts stirring like tumultuous waves. From the accounts of their descendants, and the incident with the bell delivery, they had vaguely guessed there might be a great cultivator among the robber cultivators active last night. But they had never imagined there would be not just 1, but 2. Keep in mind that among these people, the highest cultivation level belonged to Su Rengguang, who was only at the middle stage of Foundation Establishment. A great cultivator at the late stage of foundation establishment didn't need to mention their status in Red Leaf Valley. Even looking across the entire Qingyun region, they were considered to have profound cultivation levels. That's because aside from the beast-taming Su family, a noble lineage, and a few families with false core masters, late-stage foundation establishment occupied the first rung on the ladder of power. However, Lu Chongsheng just announced that among the 5 troublemaking robber cultivators last night, 2 were in the late stage of foundation establishment. Moreover, both late-stage foundation establishment robber cultivators and the 3 foundation establishment cultivators were all slain by him and Lu Miaoge. This. It was simply too astonishing. All 4 looked at Lu Chongsheng with shocked faces, hardly knowing what to say. You must be curious about how Miaoge and I subdued the robber cultivators, aren't you? Seeing their expressions, Lu Chongsheng smiled wryly. For him, such martial feats were hardly worth mentioning. But for Qingzhou Mountain, 100 Birds Lake, and even Yushui Su family, it was indeed quite astonishing. Not to hide from Lu Daoist, Su is indeed somewhat curious. However, if it involves any of Lu Daoist's secrets, there's no need to disclose them. That's right. Senior Su is correct. The 4 now felt a subconscious reverence towards Lu Chongsheng. Putting aside whether there were actually 2 late-stage foundation establishment robber cultivators among the 5. The mere fact that Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge defeated 5 foundation establishment robber cultivators was enough to command their awe. After all, in the cultivation world, the accomplished lead the way, and cultivation level speaks above all. It's not such a big secret, plus, after last night's incident, I'm afraid it wouldn't stay hidden for long even if Lu wished to conceal it, Lu Chongsheng said with a wry smile. I once obtained a talisman formation technique and also a dual cultivation technique. The technique my wife and I cultivate is precisely this dual cultivation technique, not only making our cultivation more efficient by half, but when we are together, our combat strength is unmatched, capable of overcoming those at higher stages. Last night we relied on a secret technique from this cultivation manual to temporarily boost our power to the middle stage of foundation establishment. Then catching those 5 robber cultivators off guard due to their arrogance, we used a combined strike secret technique, surprising them and ultimately subdued them with the help of talisman formation and talisman treasures, Lu Chongsheng said while holding Lu Miaoge's hand. What happened last night was bound to spread far and wide. Telling these 4 was akin to giving an advanced explanation to the outside world. Dual cultivation technique. Temporarily boosting to the middle stage of foundation establishment. So that's how it was. Those robber cultivators were so rampant, they deserved their fate. We owe a great debt to Mountain Lord Lu and Lady Lu this time, the consequences could have been unimaginable otherwise. Upon hearing this, they all nodded in agreement. Although the reasoning seemed slightly far-fetched. Aside from that, they truly couldn't think of any other explanation. Moreover, in the cultivation world, those capable of fighting beyond their own level, aside from the favored children of the heavens and true inheritors of the immortal sects, were indeed users of such dual cultivation techniques. Lu Chongsheng had already demonstrated the power to defeat 3 great foundation establishment masters with his talisman formation prowess. Now with this dual cultivation technique, talisman treasures, and talisman formations, the explanation was barely plausible. I've heard that the 2 city rulers of the Great Dream Immortal City cultivate such dual cultivation techniques. To think that the 2 of you Daoists have also cultivated such a technique, it is indeed a profound bond of love, enviable to all, Su Renguang said somewhat emotionally. Techniques as formidable as dual cultivation techniques usually have very stringent cultivation requirements. For instance, they may require an intuitive understanding between partners, a perfect matching of minds, or specific constitution types. Yet Lu Chongsheng, known for having numerous wives and children, managed to practice such a technique with his wife, causing Su much reflection. But learning that Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge practiced such a technique, possessing the battle prowess of the late Foundation establishment stage, starting today, not only for his Yushui Su family but even the beast-taming Su family, they would have to reconsider their stance towards Bai Lake Mountain and Qingzhou Mountain. For the couple had only broken through to the Foundation establishment a few years back and already boasted such power. What if the two both advanced to the middle or late stages of Foundation establishment? Their combat capability was unfathomable. There could well be Foundation establishment cultivators on par with false core or even core formation. The city rulers of the Great Dream Immortal City also practice dual cultivation techniques?